items, that is entrenchment of CDF, IEBC reconstitution. We also do have embedment of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, among other issues that are essentially going to form 5 agenda items. But then the azimio side is saying, well, we do not agree to the 5 items that have essentially been drawn by Kimani Ichung'wah, saying that, well, the cost of living was close to the hearts of our supporters, and so we're going to stick to it to the end. So it remains to be seen on exactly what route the 2 sides are going to take in these negotiations, because the lines are already getting drawn even before they get to that table. So for us, it is just to talk around this particular area, see exactly where the feud is from the Kenya Kwanza side and the Azimio side, and also read in between the lines, heavily missing on this group that is supposed to negotiate this particular deal is Martha Karua. We do have the likes of Jeremiah Kioni, the likes of Murathe, who have essentially been part and parcel of the demonstrations that the Azimio coalition has been pushing into the streets up until they announced that indeed they would essentially move from the streets to the negotiating table, not by partisan talks, but essentially new talks that are supposed to remove the Azimio coalition from the streets. In that, there is the discussion of the creation of the office of the opposition leader, and that is one that majority of Kenyans have been looking at, whether indeed that would essentially then change the face of demonstrations in this country. And I'm talking about political demonstrations. My name is Simba Kiage. Thank you very much for choosing to begin your day with us right here on Lookuptv. This is Morning Drift. The hashtag is Morning Drift. Join us online on Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. For now, we take a tiny breather. Once we come back, then what you are waking up to this morning on your day list. Welcome back. So the Standard is saying this morning how RUTO Raila dialogue deal was brokered from international calls to request for live streaming of the talks. Politicians banned midnight oil to ensure president and Azimio leader enter truce and are kept in the know. That is on page 6 of the Standard. And by the way, then this essentially shows that indeed the rumors or the allegations then that indeed there were talks that were going on in the background, even as the Azimio coalition chief Raila Amolo Odinga led his supporters to the streets. This is a confirmation that indeed there were talks in the background. Because if you can see from here, this particular headline of politicians banning midnight oil to ensure President Azimio leader and a truce and are kept in the know of the talks. So a new conversation in essentially how these particular talks then were carried out. That particular story has been covered on page 6 of the Standard. On the sideline of that, there is a shock as near 600,000 KCC learners out of education radar. Now, government yesterday placed learners to higher learning institutions with more than 2/3 unaccounted for. That is on page 5 of the Standard. If you look at those numbers, there were 768,624 slots for student placement in 69 universities, 210 TVET institutions, and 3 secondary teacher training colleges. Now, out of that, 285,000 submitted applications for placement to universities and college. 870,000 candidates were eligible for placement to university and colleges, and 144,000 applicants have been placed to TVET. Now, 9,673 applicants who qualify for degree courses chose to be placed in TVET institutions. Essentially, an interesting story, even as parents now are going to be faced with a new funding model shocker. We'll be telling you about that as we continue with our conversations this morning. On the silence of that, 100 Shakahola victims are identified. That particular story has been covered on page 10 and is one that we've been covering heavily right here on the Morning Drift on actually on our website. That's on www.lookuptv.co.ke. On pages 8, retired Air Force boasts on Kenya's darkest night. Read that particular expose there. And women tell of rape horror in Sudan conflict, page 29. Not so much that has been covered on this one this morning as High Flying Nigeria. That is on the back pages for those who are following the Women's World Cup going on in Australia. Looks as if Nigeria have essentially then qualified into the next round of the competition. All right, back to the Daily Nation this morning. This is exactly what they're saying. Face shock for varsity students. That's a story that has been given the headlines here. New students that are seeking state funding for their university education have 3 weeks to apply as a funding model that scraps automatic equal subsidy in favor of a system that targets to cushion the poor in light of high cost specific fee comes into force. This as 23,000 eligible students snapped varsity application, which means institutions are below declared capacity. That is the story this morning that has been given the specific headlines right here on the Daily Nation. So read that particular story on page 7. And this is how that particular funding model is going to run across the board. Because if you have been following that conversation on the new funding model, the vulnerable students, under that, there are 4 areas of funding. There is the vulnerable, there is the extremely needy, there is the needy, and then there is the less needy. That's exactly how those are going to be funded. Scholarships for the vulnerable is about 82%, loan is 18%, then households is just 0%, going all the way to extremely needy, scholarship at 70%, needy scholarship at 50%, and less needy scholarship at 38%. All right, on pages 4 and 5, there is the question that has been asked here: who is fooling whom? Azimio has named Wiper boss Kalonzo Musyoka, leader of the opposition's 5-member delegation, to the talks with the ruling coalition, even as the government side rejects inclusion of a runaway cost of living and an audit of last year's presidential election as part of their agenda. A particular story has been covered on pages 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. On the sidelines of that, on pages 10, there is Kenyatta National Hospital's historic and born baby blood transfusion for doctors successfully performed clinical procedure to help save the life of a baby while still in a mother's womb. The woman has lost 2 babies before this particular procedure. Read that particular story on pages 10, and there's on pages 8, you're going to read about how cabinet secretaries are increasingly being caught out making sweeping roadside declarations that reek of executive overreach and at times contradicting one another over key policy statements. That particular story has been covered on page 8 of the Daily Nation. On the back pages, there is a story here on how the state has broken Joho's farm's monopoly over Southern Sudan cargo business. Now, TradePS says any custom bonded warehouse can handle cargo destined to Southern Sudan. That particular story has been covered on the last page of the Daily Nation. Now, you do know what you're waking up to this morning in terms of your dailies. Majority of the stories also do appear on our website this morning on our www.lookuptv.co.ke. Once we come back, your news this morning. Good morning. The 31-year-old woman is in agony after her 18-year-old son was crushed by a lorry carrying waste at the Malindi Mayungu dump site. Jane Mwango, a mother of 7, lost her only son, Daniel Thomas, and is now pleading with the government to look into the issue and ensure that justice is served.
It is a dump site that claimed the life of an 18-year-old, leaving the family in pain after being crushed by a lorry that came to empty trash.
Mnamo tarehe 28 mwezi wa 5 nilipigiwa simu akiwa mjomba wangu amekanyagwa na gari ya county. Nilitoka kule kufika nikamwona mamake akiwa ameanguka chini na babake wakilia hapo. Mjomba alikuwa amekanyagwa sehemu ya kifuani na watu wa Timboni walikuwa na ghadhabu mpaka ikawa shida kubwa mpaka gari ikachomwa. Kisha baadaye nikaitwa na chief akasema kuna simu kutoka ofisi ya governor ambaye ametuma familia sisi tukae chini na manager wa municipal ambaye ni Mr. Mabati na watu wa county tuangalie namna gani tutamzika yule kijana. Na baada ya hapo walikuja wakanambia niandike gharama za mazishi. Gharama za mazishi niliandika ikawa ni 1250. Na shangaa nilipewa 1050 na sasa wameenda kabisa, hawajakuja tena. Sisi tumebaki na majonzi. Ni kama serikali imetuacha.
The mother of the deceased, Jane Mwango, is a widow and lives 300 meters from the dump site, has been a resident of the area for more than 20 years, and this dump site has been her source of livelihood, but also one that could snatch her son away.
Mimi namuomba Mngaro anisaidie kwa hili jambo ambalo limempata mtoto wangu. Mimi hata hivi leo tayari siku ya leo nimeshinda tu na mahindi. Na mahindi zote ni kama zilifekwa hapa kwa maafa. Si kupata mahindi ni hizo miti zimesimama tu peke yake. Na niko na watoto wadogo wananililia. Hii hali ambayo ilikuwa sijaanza hata kutoka kwenda kujitafutia.
The family's hope rested on Thomas as other children are differently challenged, with the firstborn suffering from a mental illness. As she holds the photo of her child with tears in her eyes, the mother of the deceased knows too well the pain of losing a son, and although it will not bring her child back, she hopes that justice will be served.
Kwa hivyo tunalilia haki tafadhali. Kama inawezekana basi mambo haya afike mpaka huko juu tuangaliwe namna gani. Huyu mama amekuwa kafadhaika sana.
Hadasa Crystal, Lookuptv.
Now, over the recent years, agriculture has increasingly lost its allure among school-going students. For many schools, the goal has always been to equip their students with skills to get white-collar jobs as compared to venturing into farming. Now, the case is different for Rongai Agri-Tech School in Nakuru County, which sits on a farm full of a variety of livestock and an assortment of crops that has made the institution unique among its peers. Now, the institution, which incorporates farming in its curriculum, has seen a new approach to learning in Kenya, as Juliet Chepkoech now reports.
Nestled in the outskirts of Nakuru town, Rongai Agri-Tech Boys High School stands out among its peers with its thriving agricultural practices. The school that sits on 30 acres, 12 of which are used for farming, boasts of a variety of livestock in addition to plantations of cabbages, sukuma wiki, and African indigenous vegetables.
Our school is very unique in comparison to many other high schools we have in our country. We incorporate teaching or enlightening our boys with agricultural skills, together with covering their curriculum, just like other schools are doing.
With statistics showing that the average age of a Kenyan farmer is 65 years, the school's director Paul Anderson insists on the need to reinvigorate the youth to take up farming as a career, while also noting the pressure that has been mounted on teachers and especially those in agriculture to make the subject attractive to the youth in primary and secondary schools.
The current generation of young people, most of them, they are born and raised in the city. So they don't have the opportunity to do these bits of farming, whether it is animal rearing or crops husbandry. And it has helped so many young men, because those who have passion for farming, after they finish Form 4, they don't even proceed to a tertiary institution, because already they have been given the skills that they need in farming.
For the past 5 decades, the director indicates that the farm has been run independently as a business enterprise, returning an impressive profit every month, with most of its labor being supplied by the students, which he indicates has greatly driven up interest in farming among the teenage students.
We are able to run the school with the subsidized school fees, because all this work that the students do, we have input and we have output. The output is consumed in the school, and what we get in excess, we sell. Form 1, they work with the animals. Form 2, they work with the crops. Then when they get to Form 3, because they have both experience of animals and crops, they become the managers. So they also get managerial skills. And then when they get to Form 4, because it is their final year, we give them, or we allow them enough time to revise for their national exam. There is a challenge of unemployment. But with what we expose our boys with here in our school, we empower them such that when they live here, even when they will not be in a position to be employed out there, they have skills which they can use and they can employ themselves.
Francis Murithi, who is an alumni of the school, he expresses excitement as the administration has used the farm to equip youth from surrounding communities with practical, job-relevant and market-ready skills needed in the agriculture sector.
The white-collar jobs are no longer there, but what we have now, if you have that idea of soiling up your hands, raising animals in the field, now definitely there is a reward at the end of the day in terms of the money you get after selling the produce.
Toka hapa nili benefit na vitu mingi sana, sababu saa hizi nina farm na nimeweza at least kujua the time ya kupanda mboga, the time ya mahindi.
With the country gearing towards innovative and advanced farming practices, the farm's success and dedication of the students and the staff at the Rongai Agritech Secondary School is sowing the seeds of a brighter future for agriculture in Kenya.
Instead of waiting to be able to be employed, you can employ yourself by use of these animals, crop animal or animal farming.
Juliet Chepkoech, Lookuptv.
Moving on, Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, Felix Koskei, has affirmed the government will soon start repairing National Cereals and Produce Board depots across the country in a preparation for a bumper maize harvest. Koskei said the government will repair 36 mobile dryers and purchase 70 more as part of the government's efforts toward post-harvest management of farmers' produce.
Speaking in Uasin Gishu County, Koskei said in the next 2 months, food shortage will be a thing of the past as the county prepares itself for a pamba harvest that will see both farmers and Kenyans reap big.
Because I think in another 2 months, shortage of maize, shortage of food in this country will be a thing of the past.
Koskei further noted that the county and national governments will improve the road network in the North Rift, including opening up feeder roads so that farmers can transport their produce to NCPB stores with ease.
We are going to ensure that all feeder roads, the ones that the county governments are going to do, the ones that the national government through KERA are going to do, we repair them, we ensure them, we ease the activities around agricultural areas.
Farmers have been urged to be careful and not allow themselves to be taken advantage of by middlemen, as Koskei wants farmers to store their produce at NCPB depots for as long as they wish. He called on the farmers to adopt modern farming techniques to maximize the returns on the investment, saying the government will soon roll out the second phase of distribution of the subsidized fertilizer throughout the country.
Utunze mzuri, tunajua kwamba njaa itapotea. Ya pili, utapata pesa ile unaweza kujisaidia, kama ni shule, kama ni hospitali, kama ni kupanua kununua mashamba, kama ni maendeleo ingine au lingine, itakuwa mzuri. So sisi kama serikali tuko tayari kabisa kuhakikisha kwamba mkulima amesaidiwa ili afanye kazi yake kwa njia mzuri. And in fact, we can see the impact of the fertilizer subsidy that the government introduced early this year. We can see production, we can see the kind of yield that we are expecting.
Stella Kilonzo, Lookuptv.
Following a petition by the medical students of Kenyatta University who between Kenya University and the Board of Directors of Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital truly owns the medical institution. Now, the Senate committee Monday visited the two entities to find a lasting solution so as to enable medical students of the university benefit from the services and facilities of the hospital. Stanley Lugaria now reports.
Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital is at the center of a tussle on who should lay claim to it. The university that birthed the idea or the board that runs the hospital.
From the visit, we have gathered information very useful to our committee in making our report that is going to be submitted to the House. And we promise that we are going to complete our report so that decision makers can act after we get all our findings from all the stakeholders.
The Senate Health Committee led by Senator Jackson Mandago on Monday paid a visit to the school and the hospital to determine the bone of contention so as to resolve the matter, which seems to be escalating each passing day.
What happened is for the institution to write to the regulator.
Our prayer is that although we would like to have our hospital back, for now, can we start using those facilities?
The board of Kenyatta University Training, Referral and Research Hospital had a difficult time explaining to the committee the ownership of the hospital, or more so, how the institution has been robbed of its idea of a training and referral hospital for its students.
They had asked the students, and if you look at the documents we paid for the Senate and the chronometer, you can see that has been the discussion. Then get the permission, attach them, because we also check with the board what is the procedure, and the board said we write, we attach them, and we vote, and that never happened. But now that it has happened, Honorable Senators, even tomorrow, if they are ready when the students come back, the students can stay.
The university administration laments of the large number of medical students compared to the equipment and facilities it has currently, the shortage of classroom and buildings for medical students, the shortage of internship opportunities for students pursuing medicine, and lack of enough student laboratories.
You go there, you see how the hospital is. The facility, as I said, is the state of the art. But the purpose was to make sure that medical education is elevated to another level by having innovations there, by making sure that the students are using the proper lab.
Among the issues arising include how the hospital was upgraded to a level 6 referral hospital without the involvement and consultation of the school, and why the medical students are not given the opportunity to use the buildings and services of the hospital.
For the training, for the students who are not graduated, the training institution is one that writes. So we kept asking for you, and in the records, there are so many letters, at least 2 or 3 letters we have written, to say, why don't you please go have KU evaluated so the students can come.
The hospital board had to explain why the board meetings lack representation from the Kenyatta University. However, the hospital board has strongly denied the allegations and now claims the school management makes it difficult in ensuring the students benefit from the services and facilities of the hospital as they continue with their medical studies.
Visiting Kenyatta University and Referral Hospital together with Kenyatta University over a petition by the students, medical students of Kenyatta University. And the core matter in that petition is about the access of Kenyatta University medical students to use this facility in their learning. So we've just made a visit to university just to familiarize ourselves with the facility itself, and also get submissions from the university and also from the hospital board and management. That is exactly what we have done, and as a committee, we cannot comment more than that until we conclude our report and make our submissions to the House.
Even as the difference between the Kenyatta University and the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital continues, this has caught medical students in the spray. But now, a lasting solution seems closer to being reached, even as the Health or Senate Health Committee has intervened to ensure a lasting solution is found. Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Stanley Lugaria. Now, the Council of Governors has raised concern about what they call the national government and its agencies' encroachment on devolved functions, according to the COG chairperson Anne Waiguru. Now, the issue of encroachment was raised during a Council of Governors meeting yesterday, Monday.
Speaking after the Council of Governors' first meeting this financial year, the Council's chairperson, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, has lashed at the State Department for devolution over amendments on the County Governments Act 2012 without consulting the Council, while calling for comprehensive review of the Act following a court ruling that declared county boards unconstitutional.
The Council notes that the State Department of Devolution reviewed the County Governments Act 2012 without the involvement of the county government. Yet this is a critical legislation in the implementation of devolution. However, we welcome the move to review the Act to conform to the judgments of the court, which declared the county development boards unconstitutional, amongst other critical issues. We note that there is need to undertake a more comprehensive review of the Act to address the emerging issues in the course of its implementation since the advent of devolution.
While lamenting over national government interference on matters devolution in key sectors, the Council noted with concern the illegal establishment of government parastatals, calling on the Senate to institute legal frameworks to bar the formation of such parastatals unconstitutionally.
We note with concern the continuous attempts by national government departments, ministries and agencies to claw back on devolution from time to time, especially on devolved functions such as markets, housing, lighting, water, provision of fertilizer and seeds in the agricultural sector. The Council welcomes the recent High Court judgment, which declared the establishment of the Kenya Tissue and Transplant Authority to be illegal. This is a victory for devolution, as it sets precedent on the establishment of parastatals that undertake devolved functions vid legal notices. We call upon the Senate to initiate amendments to the State Corporations Act 2010 to ensure that it aligns to the devolved system of governance.
The county chiefs also called out the Ministry of Lands over the Markets Development Program, set to be rolled out by the national government through the said ministry, insisting that the program was a devolved function.
We acknowledge the correspondence from the national government through the State Department of Housing and Urban Development, advising counties on the implementation of the Markets Development Program for the next 5 years. For the avoidance of doubt, the development of markets in the country is a fully devolved function under the 4th schedule of the Constitution. As such, the program should be implemented by the respective county governments through conditional grants framework under the law, as we have done in the KIPES program. We therefore request the ministry to suspend the planned advertisement and task our leadership at the council to engage the Ministry of Lands and Public Works and Housing and Urban Development to agree on the modalities of rolling out this project.
The Council of Governors meeting comes barely 2 weeks before the annual devolution conference, set to kick off on the 15th of next month. Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
Now on to a story that will form our conversation this morning. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party has chosen Kalonzo Musyoka to lead its delegation in the talks with the Kenya Kwanza government. Azimio said that each side should remain free to raise their own issues of interest to be discussed in the talks, as they maintain the cost of living as top on the agenda. This comes as different quarters welcome the move for the government to engage with the opposition.
As the push and pull and clear division takes center stage between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza ahead of the talks facilitated by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, Azimio has come out to name a team that will represent the coalition in the said talks led by co-principal and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. In a statement on Monday, Azimio named other members of the delegation, including National Assembly Minority Leader James Opiyo Wandayi, Eugene Wamalwa, Nyamira Senator Okongo Omogeni, and Malindi MP Amina Mianzi. Azimio said that each side, that is the Kenya Kwanza and the opposition, should remain free to raise their own issues of interest to be discussed in the talks. The statement reads, and I quote, Opposition remains that no party to this negotiation can claim a right to determine for the other what to raise and what not to raise. Azimio will respect Kenya Kwanza's right to bring all its issues to the table. We expect Kenya Kwanza to do the same with our issues, the statement read in part. Azimio has already tabled 5 issues to be discussed, including the high cost of living, audit of the 2022 elections, bipartisan reconstitution of the Electoral Commission, inclusivity in national affairs, and respect for political parties. The coalition said it is keen on a time-bound program of talks that should take 1 month beginning August 1st. Initially, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah released what he termed as a joint statement detailing 5 issues the two sides had agreed to focus on during the talks, set to be facilitated by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. The issues are reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, implementation of 2/3 gender rule, entrenchment of Constituency Development Fund, and establishment and entrenchment of the Office of the Leader of Opposition, and also embedment of the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Ichung'wah further noted that the Finance Act 2023, whose enactment largely contributed to the opposition calling for mass action to protest against the high cost of living, will not form part of the discussions, sentiments echoed by President William Ruto. This comes as Kenyans call on the two factions to mediate and resolve the differences.
Mazungumzo kama haya tumewahi kuwa nayo hapa awali na hatukuona matokeo yote mazuri kwa manufaa ya mwananchi wa kawaida. Haya mazungumzo yamekuwa mwaka baada ya kila mwaka tukipiga kura tunakuwa na haya mazungumzo, negotiation, maandamano. Baada ya negotiation na kukaa kwa meza moja, mwananchi wa kawaida hajapata lolote kutoka katika hayo mazungumzo.
Mambo ya handshake ya Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga na Mheshimiwa William Ruto, rais wa nchi ya Kenya. Tunasema mambo ya hiyo handshake tunasema ni sawa, kwa sababu Wakenya kweli, kusema ukweli, Raila kitamba toke aende kwa barabara, Wakenya wameumia sana. So tunasema ya kwamba hiyo handshake itasaidia Wakenya.
Wanaosema kwamba wale watu waliepigia Ruto kura ndio Wakenya kuliko wale walipigia Raila, wanakosea inji na wanakosea katiba ya inji. Kwa sababu ukweli ni kwamba sisi sote ni watu wa Kenya.
Kenyans have also decried the high cost of living, insisting the government should take a look into it.
Naomba rais wetu wa nchi yetu awe mtu ambaye atasikiza wananchi wanasemaje, kwa sababu bidhaa ya vitu katika nchi yetu kweli ni vitu ambavyo vimeongezeka na wananchi wanalia, nikiwa mmoja wao.
With lines already drawn, the debate on whether the talks will be fruitful takes center stage. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
The particular one right there. If you look at the issues that have been raised, it is 5. Just like Amwai has concluded right there. But then there's more coalition is saying, that's not what we signed to. And before we could even release a statement of the issues that we wanted to get into the talks with, Kimani Ichung'wah went in and raised the 5. And I'm saying that top of that, as it has always been, is a cost of living, and they have to talk about it. Are they gonna? Once we come back right here on the Morning Drift, plus many other issues that are emanating from that list that has been released by the Azimio coalition on who is going to represent them in those talks. And Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba.
Hapa panajulikana kama Napetao. Hapa tumekuja na zaidi ya chakula 500 ili kuhakikisha wakazi hapa angalau wanapokea kitu cha kutia mdomoni. Unavyoangalia hali ya anga sehemu hii, jamani, kuna ukame. wakati wowote ambapo wewe unacheza loto, asilimia 25 ya pesa ambazo unatumia inakuja kufanikisha shughuli kama hii.
Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
You are a mother, you are a social media personality, you are a TV personality, you are a business person, you are a TV reality star. What best describes you, Lisa, today?
What I would like to be is an inspiration, especially to the young women today in Kenya who are growing up, who somehow are lost.
You go by the nickname Mama Chui.
Mama Chui. Hiyo ni kweli. I wore a lot of leopard print, and my fellow cast members started calling me really every day, Mama Chui, Mama Chui. So it became Mama Chui as my nickname, which I love.
Lisa Christopherson.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
More questions than answers, and so we're here to ask more questions and look for the answers. We are not so sure whether indeed we're asking the right questions, but we're going to try as much as possible to look into the issues the majority of Kenyans are waking up to this morning, but we do know what it is: cost of living. And I would like us to go back to a Moi brand story this morning of how Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party has chosen Kalonzo Musyoka to lead its delegation in the talks with Kenya Kwanza. Azimio said that each side should remain free to raise their own issues of interest to be discussed in the talks, as they maintain that the cost of living is top of the agenda. Now, this comes as different quarters welcome the move for the government to engage with the opposition. Let's take a look at that story. Once we come back, I'll be introducing the guests who are joining us for these conversations this morning, so that then we can delve into that conversation. Good morning again. Let's take a look at that story.
As the push and pull and clear division takes center stage between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza ahead of the talks facilitated by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, Azimio has come out to name a team that will represent the coalition in the said talks led by co-principal and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. In a statement on Monday, Azimio named other members of the delegation, including National Assembly Minority Leader James Opiyo Wandayi, Eugene Wamalwa, Nyamira Senator Okongo Omogeni, and Malindi MP Amina Mianzi. Azimio said that each side, that is the Kenya Kwanza and the opposition, should remain free to raise their own issues of interest to be discussed in the talks. The statement reads, and I quote, "Opposition remains that no party to this negotiation can claim a right to determine for the other what to raise and what not to raise. Azimio will respect Kenya Kwanza's right to bring all its issues to the table. We expect Kenya Kwanza to do the same with our issues." The statement read in part. Azimio has already tabled 5 issues to be discussed, including the high cost of living, audit of the 2022 elections, bipartisan reconstitution of the Electoral Commission, inclusivity in national affairs, and respect for political parties. The coalition said it is keen on a time-bound program of talks that should take 1 month beginning August 1st. Initially, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah released what he termed as a joint statement detailing 5 issues the two sides had agreed to focus on during the talks, set to be facilitated by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. The issues are reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, implementation of 2/3 gender rule, entrenchment of Constituency Development Fund, and establishment and entrenchment of the Office of the Leader of Opposition, and also embedment of the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Ichung'wah further noted that the Finance Act 2023, whose enactment largely contributed to the opposition calling for mass action to protest against the high cost of living, will not form part of the discussions, sentiments echoed by President William RUTO. This comes as Kenyans call on the two factions to mediate and resolve the differences.
Mazungumzo kama haya tumewahi kuwa nayo hapa awali na hatukuona matokeo yote mazuri kwa manufaa ya mwananchi wa kawaida. Haya mazungumzo yamekuwa mwaka baada ya kila mwaka tukipiga kura tunakuwa na haya mazungumzo, negotiation, maandamano. Baada ya negotiation na kukaa kwa meza moja, mwananchi wa kawaida hajapata lolote kutoka katika hayo mazungumzo.
Mambo ya handshake ya Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga na Mheshimiwa William RUTO, rais wa nchi ya Kenya. Tunasema mambo ya hiyo handshake tunasema ni sawa, kwa sababu Wakenya kweli, kusema ukweli, Raila kitamba toke aende kwa barabara, Wakenya wameumia sana. So tunasema ya kwamba hiyo handshake itasaidia Wakenya.
Wanaosema kwamba wale watu waliepigia RUTO kura ndio Wakenya kuliko wale walipigia Raila, wanakosea inji na wanakosea katiba ya inji. Kwa sababu ukweli ni kwamba sisi sote ni watu wa Kenya.
Kenyans have also decried the high cost of living, insisting the government should take a look into it.
Naomba rais wetu wa nchi yetu awe mtu ambaye atasikiza wananchi wanasemaje, kwa sababu bidhaa ya vitu katika nchi yetu kweli ni vitu ambavyo vimeongezeka na wananchi wanalia, nikiwa mmoja wao.
With lines already drawn, the debate on whether the talks will be fruitful takes center stage. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Brian Amwai with that particular story then. This morning, I want to introduce the guests who are going to join us this morning. We do expect Callistus Wafula to join us in the studio shortly. Who's the Secretary General of Operation Linda Ugatuzi. In the studio already is Danton Kitumbini, who's a governance and policy expert. Danton, how are you doing, sir?
How are you, brother?
Fantastic. Good. Let's get into this particular conversation this morning. And by the way, Kenyans are really talking about it this morning. And I would like to begin it like this. That particular list that was released by the Azimio coalition, it has got heads rolling. Does it mean in any way that with the names that we expected to be on that list is an indication that in case there's a deal, that somebody is going to get locked out? And by somebody, I mean the people being closest to Raila Amolo Odinga within this period when he's been calling for demonstrations across the country.
Personally, I don't see much of a problem with that list.
Yes.
The problem comes in the fact that 5 people are very few people. 5 people means you have very few options to want to consider everyone. And the queries that Martha Karua is raising is that the Mount Kenya region did not have a representative. We were expecting someone like Martha Karua to be in there for Mount Kenya. We're expecting the former CS Kimonya, who has just come back to the limelight to maybe represent the interests of Mount Kenya. Yeah. But we did not see that happen. But we've also seen the Azimio people making noise that the people from the mountain or the people from the Jubilee or other parties that possibly come from Mount Kenya, they did not contribute so much that would warrant them to sit in that discussion. Because we've seen the tweet by the Kileleshwa MCA, Robert Alai, saying Martha Karua could not produce her own polling station. He could not produce 700 votes. What warrants her to sit in those discussions? So they are saying that azimio is ODM and ODM is azimio. These other people are just there to watch.
Yes.
He's saying some of them are moles, so we cannot have moles sitting in that discussion. But much as we say that, this list was pre-planned. We've had rumors that this list was produced a month ago. The discussions went on and on and on and on. If Raila Odinga or the Azimio chair Uhuru Kenyatta wanted to make any changes, then they would have made those changes. So I believe it has been well thought through. So let's see how it goes.
When you look at Martha Karua and the likes of Jeremiah Kioni, do they, for your personal view, if you're going to go into negotiations on the pretext that she's stuck with Raila Amolo Odinga, even after they lost the elections, she's been there in the streets with Raila Amolo Odinga, you'd expect that indeed, when you're representing your strongest negotiators on that table, she would essentially give you the best chances at having your way in.
We ask ourselves, who is Jeremiah Kioni? Who is Martha Karua? Martha Karua, not even his village people listen to her. Like no one cares what Martha Karua is doing
in the pretext of these negotiations they're gonna get into. Is that not where she fits correctly now? Remove her from the polls now, put her on the table. If you're looking for a deal,
Martha Karua has always projected herself to be an upright thinker and a very, very good judge. Is one of the most sober minds we've had before the elections. I think they corrupted him in this new election, but he's always come out as a very sober thinker. And Azimio, in the pretext of this conversation you're having now, doesn't care for anything good to come out of that conversation. They're not looking for something for the citizens of Kenya or something. They are looking to bargain for their own selfish interests. And Martha Karua would not think in that line. Martha Karua would just go and say, the constitution this, the constitution that. Martha Karua would say the people are saying this and that and that and that. Mount Kenya people this and that and that and that. But Raila Odinga doesn't care for that. Raila Odinga cares for Nusumkate. Raila Odinga cares for opening of the servers and what have you. He doesn't care for these all other issues. So in the mind of Raila Odinga, I don't think he would even consider, if at all considering someone else, maybe Jeremiah Kioni, because Kioni is, apparently Kiona would say is useless. He has nothing else. He's been locked out of politics. He's just there to, he has no place to put his loyalty on except on Azimio, to pass time and remain relevant and what have you. Maybe that would put him as an option, but not Martha Karua. Not Martha Karua.
Let's look at the context of these negotiations as well. Anton, there's already a conflict which is essentially a mirror of the conflict during the bipartisan talks. The only thing is that this time around, indeed, we have a mediator who's essentially viewed as completely neutral in these negotiations. But there's already a conflict that the Kenya Kwanza side went right ahead through the majority leader, Kimani Ichung'wah, and listed some of the issues they thought were proper to have a conversation around once it was agreed that indeed there were going to be negotiations. But even before that, I want to give you a backstory of a story that the Standard ran this morning, and I don't know whether my director can actually have that particular piece shown to our audience this morning, that we haven't just arrived at these negotiations today. There have been politicians that have been called, and there have been people been struggling in the background to make sure that indeed we go right ahead and have these negotiations, to the point that Raila Amolo Odinga and President William Ruto, they were well informed of everything that was going on in the background leading to these negotiations. But then, Danton, if indeed this has been going on since Raila Amolo Odinga declared demonstrations in this country up to where we are right now, but we're saying there's going to be a 10-member committee formed on the sidelines of this conflict, why is it that all of a sudden we have a conflict in the issues that are going to be discussed on that particular day when this committee is going to be met?
I think what we should be asking ourselves now is who is fooling who? Because we had the president when he was in Kwale the end of last week. He said, I have had discussions in person with Raila Odinga, and we are going to foster for dialogue because we are not going to have demonstrations going forward. And then in making of that statement was aligned with Ishungwa's that joint statement, which we are not sure if it was joint or it was just politics. And then they aligned agendas of discussion, in my opinion, were not so much of what Azimio was talking about. I've never heard Azimio say they talk about CDF. I've never heard Azimio talk about the office of the cabinet secretary. It's not so much. They mentioned it in the past, but they forgot about it. But it was there in the letter by the leader of majority in the National Assembly. So when Azimio came out, in fact, that those agendas backfired, because most Azimio members were saying if the cost of living is not among the agendas, then we have no business sitting down, because that was not what we were advocating for as a coalition. So I would think it's either Azimio is fooling us, or the government side is also fooling us. But I would tend to think Azimio could be fooling us, because they usually test the waters. They want to see what do people want to hear.
On this particular one,
yes, they usually see if the people don't hear this, then they retract and then come back again and start telling people, no, we want to talk about the cost of living and what have you and what have you and what have you.
If you look at how Raila Amolo Odinga changed the face of demonstrations, that he started declaring immediately after he announced that he was going to tell the country, because 3 weeks, a month ago, you would say that. He changed the face of demonstrations and now said, forget the rest of them. We're going to go to the streets and demo because of the cost of living in this country. Do you think it would have the heart to come back and tell the Kenyans now, whatever it is that I'm going to negotiate on is not the cost of living, it's just other issues other than what I took you to the streets for?
That is Raila Odinga. We've seen him before. He has done it before, and he could do it again and then again and then again. The government side has clearly stated that we are not going to sit down and talk about the finance bill, which was one of the agendas in the previous demos that Raila Odinga was advocating for. Finance bill this, finance bill that. But then the president said, we will not talk about something that is in the court. Let the court decide.
Yes.
Okay. You see, if these talks were to go on live on TV, we've seen a lot of media stations write to the government of Kenya requesting to air live the discussions that these two factions are going to have going forward. But if these discussions are going to be out in the open, we are going to have a completely different dialogue than if these dialogues were to take place in a private room, that like what happened in 2018 between Uhuru Kenyatta and the former Prime Minister.
Yes.
If they talk privately, Raila Odinga will bring out his private interests, selfish interests, and what have you that he has been successfully hiding from the public. But if we go publicly, now we'll just talk about what the people want to hear. Okay, because we'll not have an option than just talk about the cost of living, which the president, as we know him, is a good orator. He's going to talk conclusively and explain to the prime minister, we are doing this to lower the cost of living, we are doing this and that and that and that. Talking about the servers, he'll just say, I've explained this before, that we cannot open the servers because it is a mandate of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court judged this and this and this and that. If we talk about the reconstitution of IEBC, no problem. The government has never had an issue with the reconstitution of IEBC. They said we will form a team so long as we go in accordance with the constitution. We'll have a team from your side on your side. The Public Service Commission is going to vet them.
Yes.
So all those issues, the president is going to have responses to them. We know him as a talker. We know him. He's got a very sweet tongue. So if we go that way, I think the prime minister will have no much gaining from it. Especially now, if I look at that team that has been brought forward by the opposition, I don't think there is a very strong bargain or an aggressive person that would be very aggressive and put the government on the wall. If the discussions are going to be led by Kalonzo Musyoka, we've known Kalonzo Musyoka as to be very indecisive, to be more reserved than being aggressive. Opio and I the same. He's an intellect person, he's a lawmaker, but he's not so outspoken. The Malindi MP, Mnyazi, we don't even know much about her. He's trying as much as possible to come politically and replace CS Aisha Jumwa, but he's not as outspoken as Aisha Jumwa. If we talk about Senator Okongo, maybe from where he comes from, but we wouldn't expect much from him. Maybe Eugene Wamalwa was a CS, was a close ally of both governments. In 2013 was a very close ally of William Ruto.
Yes.
Right now is a very close ally of the former President Raila Odinga. We would expect him to be more representative of the Uhuru Kenyatta's side than Azimio side. He's more Uhuru Kenyatta than Azimio, I would say. If anyone is going to represent the interests of Uhuru Kenyatta in that sitting, then it's Eugene Wamalwa, not any other person.
What difference would have it had in that particular sitting had Mother Karua and the likes of Mwangi wa Iria in it? Because it looks as if the outlook now is that the best interests of that particular coalition, the Azimio coalition, reside within Mother Karua and Mwangi wa Iria and the likes of Jeremiah Kioni, regardless of their temperament or who they are in terms of personality. Would you call them hardliners?
Okay,
Mother Karua would be called a hardliner.
I would just call them loyalists.
Yes.
They could be hardliners, but I wouldn't consider them as such because they're just idle. They have nowhere to put their loyalty to. They have nothing else to do if they want to stay relevant.
Yes.
So they're just there. In fact, you remember Mwangi wa Iria during the politics. Imagine a presidential aspirant coming to the launch of another person's presidential campaign. That's a totally confused aspirant. You don't expect so much from such a person. He attended Raila Odinga's launch of politics, launch of the presidential campaign, and is an aspirant. How much do you expect of such a person, even if they are coming to the campaign trail and telling people this and that and that and that and that? How would you consider Mwangi wa Iria? I would say, like I said before, Martha Karua is a person I would root for if I were to choose any of the people you have mentioned: Jeremiah Kioni, Martha Karua, Mwangi wa Iria. In fact, I don't know why we are not mentioning Babu Owino. I don't know why we are not mentioning the Suna East MP, Those are the people who have been so aggressive in matters azimio. Why are we not mentioning them? Because they're still there. Why do we consider someone who has their own party that has delivered nothing to where azimio is now? Because the loss to Kenya Kwanza government was a very, very slim loss. If per se these factions had indeed delivered, I think we wouldn't have this conversation. We'd having now talking about Kenya Kwanza joining government. In that case.
In this scenario, I want to take your 1 minute sentiment on this then, because as an expert of a conversation, that now the conflict that we did have during the bipartisan talks is the same conflict now that we're having now in this fresh round of talks, that the issues that are getting discussed are essentially the conflict. The Azimio coalition is saying we want to discuss our issues, and we're giving a chance to Kenya Kwanza side as well to bring their issues. In this scenario, Danton, who is supposed to bring their issues on the table?
Azimio made a statement yesterday, and they said we were not of the idea that one party decides what another party brings to the table or it doesn't.
Yes.
So if you have issues from your side, bring them, and we have other issues, bring them. We have no right to. You have no right to decide that these issues are not mandatory. So, and I think, on my opinion, that is considerable. If they have issues, let's listen to all of them. Let's address each one and all of them, so that they don't come back again and they said we discussed 1 and 2, but we did not discuss X, Y, Z. And I wouldn't want you to call it conflict. Let's call them interests. Because we don't have a conflict, we don't have a crisis.
It already looks like a conflict when you have two statements that are essentially addressing one issue. When they say that we've agreed, that's exactly what Kimani Ichung'wah said. As Azimio coalition comes and says we did not agree on that.
I say those are interests because
that's on the basis of Kimani Ichung'wah saying we agreed, and then goes ahead and lists issues.
We don't have enough evidence to say Kimani Ichung'wah was lying.
Yes.
We don't have enough evidence to say the joint statement was a statement written by one person.
Kimani Ichung'wah has not come out to say, well, you guys are lying, that we sat and agreed on this issue.
And the opposition did not say they lied.
Yes.
The opposition said that the issues that we have raised are not in that list. That's why they refused to sign on their side.
On the basis of the fact that they said that he released the statement before, right? We went right ahead and gave them our issues that we wanted to discuss.
You see, that would only mean they discussed, okay?
Yes.
But they did not expect the public to come out at them and say, you see, this is what we are going to the streets for, and then we are not seeing these issues. Because they only came out after the backlash on social media. People were saying, why are the issues we were advocating for not in the list? Then the opposition came on a press and said, those are not the issues, these are our issues.
I want you to hold your thoughts right there. Once we come back then, we'll be talking about that, because the president has already made himself clear on what he thinks about the cost of living and some of the issues that have been discussed right there by the Azimio coalition. So once we come back, is there a conflict already? Because indeed, we ran a story here about how indeed there looks like there is a conflict even before we do know the full 10-member list that is going to get in those discussions once we come back.
It's time to restart, rescale, and talk about health matters.
If you get exposed to high fluoride between 0 to 12 years, your teeth will be permanently discolored.
Wake up, eat healthy, and keep fit. With the help of health experts, we will help you understand different health conditions and how to treat them.
Dental fluorosis is an irreversible condition that affects the outer layer of your tooth.
This is your health journal. My name is Wanjugu Washira.
Every Wednesday from 8:30 p.m.
Everything will be well discussed here on this platform.
Only on Lookuptv.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your #1 show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Every Sunday saa 10. Jiunge na mimi ili nikufundishe mengi kuhusu ukulima wa nyanya, wa mboga, kuweka ng'ombe, kila kitu ambayo inahusikana na ukulima, ili ujifundishe mengi, uweze kujua ukulima pia ni mali. Kumbuka kipindi ni nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro, upate hela.
A particular statement from the Azimio coalition is quite clear, and they're saying that we've essentially gone right ahead and given out the issues that we want to talk on that particular table. The Kenya Kwanza side now also has time then to go right ahead and table their issues. But if you look at that statement that was released by Kimani Ichung'wah, he said, well, this is what we agreed that we're going to talk about in the 10-member committee. Goes right ahead and says all the way from issues of CDF, creating the oppositional office, all the way to the embedment of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. But then the Azimio side come back and then list their issues that we wish to have these issues essentially discussed. But on top of that are issues that the Kenya Kwanza side were quite clear once we started this conversation for the bipartisan talks or negotiations. Number one, on top of that was the cost of living, the auditing of the 2022 election results, which is essentially, in other ways, opening of the IEBC servers. So those are two issues either that the hardliners in the Kenya Kwanza side have already said, we're not going to get into it. So Danton, even as you say there's no conflict, that already right there is a conflict, because the president, as we do know today, is saying, well, on the issues of the cost of living, please do not touch on it. There's even an issue that is getting handled by the courts. We leave it there. All right? We're not going to talk about it. It's an issue that is in the court's purview now. Please leave it there. Number two, on the auditing of the 2022 results, again, it's not an issue that we're going to talk about. So leave it there. We were done with elections. Let's move right ahead and get out of it. Is that not a conflict already? Because you can say that story that was done by Brian Amwai this morning, it's got the auditing of the 2022 general election results, and number one, the cost of living, which again the president is saying, well, we're not going to talk about it.
You see, the problem I'm having myself is, if the issue is cost of living, why do we need a mediator? Why do we need a third party so that we talk about cost of living in our own country?
Yes.
Why do we need a third party to talk about cost of living?
On the best, it's on the basis that the Azimio coalition are saying that they've essentially told the government that they want to give them suggestions on how to reduce the cost of living, but the government is not listening. That's what they're saying.
No, that's not true. We've never had an occasion where the opposition says the cost of living has gone up, so stop doing this, instead do this. We have asked them before that you were saying we are collecting so much taxes.
Yeah.
We want to raise money for our upcoming budget. This is what we are going to do. What do you suggest? What are you suggesting? Bring an alternative finance bill so that we consider it.
Yes.
Then the opposition said we are going to do that, but then we waited and nothing came from their side. So it is inaccurate to say that the opposition at least committed to say that they would do that, and in fact they did not. It's unfair to say so. What I'm asking myself is, and I told you before, let's not call this one a conflict. These are interests that Azimio is having. That's why we're having a mediator in the first place, to address the interests, not the interests of Kenyans. Because if we talk about the interests of Kenyans, we know that the president has advocated during the campaign, and even after the campaign, the president has kept on saying, let's have a vibrant opposition. Let's have an opposition that is going to challenge us, do our jobs right. Let's have an opposition that is going to tell us this is the alternative way of governance.
Yes.
But the opposition has stayed back and chosen to go against the constitution, to go against the constraints of the constitution, to pursue their own interests. Because we even had a proposition of budget for the office of the opposition, but Raila Odinga ignored that because that's not what he wanted. He has his own interest to settle that cannot be addressed when he's leader of opposition.
Let's get to the basics of it, Danton. And I'm going to leave this question for the sake of the audience that is watching this morning and listening to you, saying that indeed there is no conflict. The bipartisan talks, I'm talking about the original bipartisan talks, they failed, Danton, on the basis that, number one, the Azimio coalition deemed the government unserious in the way they were approaching those negotiations, either through their commitment to talk on those issues that the Azimio side had raised, or number two, the members that they had fronted then to actually get into those negotiations. But if you look at this second round of negotiations, on the seriousness of the government, in terms of the members that they've fronted, it looks as if it has been addressed, because the Azimio side has not had an issue with that. They're saying, well, good, we're going to give you your members and you bring in your members. And the rules have been well outlined. But then, on the issue, on the agenda of those negotiations, Danton, it looks as if it has not changed. Because if you ask any other person who will be watching you this morning why they failed in the first round, they will tell you it is because of the issues that were on that table and the representation of that bipartisan committee. So when Opiyo Wandayi and the likes of Peter Munya come in and say, well, and they read a statement, they said, we're going to continue with these conversations with honesty and be faithful to the needs of Kenyans. And they went right ahead and said that the cost of living is an issue that for us, we deem to be quite important right now in these conversations. Danton, is that not already a conflict right there? If the other side is telling you we're going to talk about this, but you feel there should not be an issue that we should be talking about.
I would say the cost of living is a capitalist agenda,
yes,
in the sense, for lack of a better word. The opposition is capitalizing on the current state of our economy in terms of the high cost of living to buy the masses to their side so that it will increase their bargain against the government. It's not a case of them having alternatives way of where we can get money to finance the budget. It's not a case of them where we're going to have an alternative finance bill. They don't care for that. It's just a bargaining chip to have the masses on their side that, okay, we are the opposition and we are fighting for the rights, for your rights, and we are going to sit down and talk about you. But it's not an issue of you, it's not an issue of us, it's an issue of them and their interests.
Be it not, whichever way. And remember when I asked you that it's going to be very difficult for this Azimio side to enjoy support, which they would need, Danton, if indeed we're talking about 2027, even any chance for Raila Odinga then, to actually come back to the people and say, well, we did not talk about the cost of living. We essentially went and talked about other issues. That when you're getting on that negotiating table, the first interest, which essentially made you enjoy majority support in the country during your demonstrations, was on the cost of living. That's what I'm saying, that if that's a top interest for the Azimio side, in whichever way they are going to talk about it, or in whatever thing they're going to get out of it, that they have to push for it.
You see, the cost of living is a global crisis.
Yes.
It did not start today. It did not start yesterday. It started way back. In fact, it started when the opposition leader Raila Odinga was in power and was quoted in Malindi when the former Deputy President William RUTO was talking about the cost of living in his politics. Raila Odinga was quoted in Malindi saying, "Watu wanabweka bweka and what?" The sitting President Uhuru Kenyatta was saying, "I'm not the one who went to Ukraine to start the war to bring the cost of living up. I'm not the one who increased the cost of global petroleum and what have you and what have you." So it's not an issue that started today. It's just that now the roles have changed. Now he's looking for a bargaining chip.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the cost of living, and Danton, for the sake of this conversation again, because the Azimio coalition is looking at it differently this time around, and they have areas that they want the government to address. That for them, the cost of living is going to be any little thing that they would have as a bargaining chip out of that negotiation table, in the sense of there are so many areas that the government could decide to touch on today. Case in point, they are talking about subsidies, Danton. That today, the government could decide to say, well, the 16% VAT on petroleum products in the country has essentially not been implemented. That for the Azimio coalition, in whatever way you may want to think about it, because it's a negotiating table, will be something that they may want to come back and say, you see, Kenyans, we fought for this, we've got this, and we're going to continue fighting. It is a negotiation tactic. It would be, isn't it?
Okay, let me say this.
Yes.
Let's look at the genesis of these mandamanos.
Yes.
At the genesis of it, the core objective of Azimio was open the servers. That is the second objective they have enlisted yesterday. Open the servers. Let us audit the IEBC.
Yes.
The third agenda is what? We want IEBC reforms. We want to have a new commission and a new frameworks of conducting elections coming forward. And then again, another one, they're talking about police brutality and then police what have you. These two issues I'm talking about, the police brutality in the mandamanos and talking about the cost of living, is these are objectives that they want to use to buy the masses into their side. And again, there are selfish issues of opening the servers, and they're talking about inclusivity in governance. They're saying the Kenya Kwanza government is using just their loyalists in governance, yet there are people who are qualified on the other side. This is talking about nusu mkate, which the government is saying day and night. If we are we will talk about all else, but not nusu mkate. We are not going to talk about a handshake. We are talking about real issues affecting the Kenyans, and not any other issues apart from that. Not any other issues outside the constitution. Yeah.
Very much. At this time, I want to bring into the conversation Callistus Wafula. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine.
Let me throw you into the deep end without essentially picking your thoughts on where we started this conversation with Danton this morning. That there already seems to be a conflict in this second round of negotiations between the opposition and the government. That Kimani Ichung'wah went right ahead and listed 5 items which he said they had agreed to talk on that table. Azimio side comes back and releases another statement and says, you went right ahead to release that particular statement. We hadn't essentially got done with telling you what our issues were. So yesterday we did see the full list of the issues that the Azimio side wanted to talk about. Well, top on that, which was a bit different from what the Ichung'wah said, On top of that, there was auditing of the 2022 elections and also on the cost of living, which they said it was dear to majority of Kenyans, and that's why they were in the streets, and they have to get the government to address it.
Yes.
Danton says, well, there seemingly isn't a conflict in that. There's two sides that are essentially representing their interest on that particular table. So Callista's question this morning is this. In this particular conflict, who should come up with the issues that are going to be listened to?
Okay, Elisha, may I take this opportunity also to say sorry for the delay. I've come to your show when you have already started. This is because
Apology
of
accepted.
traffic.
Yeah, Gatanga Road punished you this morning.
Yeah. Looking at what they are discussing,
yeah.
The two sides, they are not honest, they are not telling Kenyans the truth about what they want to achieve. But what I know, I can give Azimio a benefit of doubt. Because for them, initially, they had complained about election irregularities in the last general election.
Yes,
and the issue of IBC was major to them. So even if they are talking about cost of living, which is now affecting everybody, we cannot just say that they are supposed to talk about cost of living, then they forget the problem they had in the last general election. That one I give them a benefit of doubt. For the Kenya Kwanza government, I think they have been lying to the people. They told Kenyans that they want to come up with the best economic model, which is bottom-up. And the bottom-up was supposed to accelerate the rate of growth, economic growth in the country, so that the young people who had stood with William RUTO could get employment. That is something is not happening. And in fact, this regime have gone ahead to even increase the cost of production. Because when you increase the cost of fuel, petrol, in the name of you want to raise money to build for us roads, then you are killing economy. Because one thing you are doing, there are two things, you are going to affect.
Yes.
You are going to affect, investors will not come to invest in the economy. Secondly, you will pattern the already established enterprise which are operating under unfavorable conditions. So eventually, many investors, in fact those who have invested in the economy, they are running away from our country. And that is something that nobody's talking about it. And as Linda Ukatusi, we have petitioned the parliament to look at UBI, unique person identification, which is a duplication of Utuma number. We have also petitioned Parliament to tell Kenyans to look at IBC, because as currently constituted, IBC is saying that it is not able to receive signatures or do anything. But we are funding them, we are giving them, they are using taxpayers' money. If we have a body that does dysfunctional body, the way we have a dysfunctional judiciary, then it means we must ask ourselves, why are we spending a lot of money on this body? Another thing, we in the last just concluded demonstration, we witnessed rampant police brutality. And that one, as Linda Ukatusi, we have taken that case to Parliament. At the same time, we have filed a petition, we have requested ICC to allow Linda Ukatusi to file a case whereby the people who are bearing highest responsibility to face charges of crime against humanity at the International Criminal Court. And that one we are going to pursue, whether Raila and William RUTO can kiss themselves in public. That one is not going to stop. We are going to make sure that the perpetrators of impunity are charged at the ICC.
Yes.
Because our judiciary system, if you look at the last the petition that Omdada filed at the Court of Appeal. The case was dismissed, but they did not quote any law which they used to overturn the decision of High Court. So it means we are getting justice in the lower courts, but the higher you go, the higher corruption. So for us, we are communicating to the people and to the entire country that we have a dysfunctional judiciary.
Yes.
And the Chief Justice we have is actually presiding over injustices. In fact, we should start calling her the Chief Injustice, because he's overseeing injustices right from the last contested election, where
yes.
she wrote a very unpopular decision amongst all the judges that were on the bench. The Chief Justice wrote a petition, a judgment which most of us consider to be, it was very unpopular, and many people saw her as a person who was not ready to give justice. And we are telling Kenya Kwanza government that hustlers are now demanding that you fulfill your promise, because they are not going to fulfill their promises by talking to azimio.
Yes.
They need to put the policies that favors economic growth.
Mm-hmm.
They need to reduce misuse of public funds and resources, because we have seen, even William RUTO, he told us that he's not going to serve the only elites in our society. Why did he not reduce the wage bill? Because he went ahead by creating the CAS positions. He utilized all the slots that were given in the constitution for CAS. So that is a person who is not ready to help the economy to grow.
On the basis, just before I give Danto the right to respond, on the basis of this particular second round of negotiations, what do you stand as Linda Ugatuzi, Callistus?
Linda Ugatuzi, we are saying, if it is about it is a genuine talk, they need to invite everybody, because they are not discussing about the election.
Yes.
We are discussing issues concerning the country. Some of us, as we have petitioned Parliament to remove IG from office, because his name tops the list of ICC. So we cannot charge you at the ICC, then here locally you are serving as Chief Inspector General.
Yes.
So we are saying there are some issues, because they talk, and yet we are pursuing our case at the International Criminal Court. We have several cases that we have launched, over 11 cases locally. And that we are not going to stop pursuing justice because they are talking. But if you are invited on the table, we shall make sure that we have a genuine talks where we can even be able to compensate the victims of maandamano, because police killed so many people. Many people have been left with wounds, and they cannot be allowed to live with those. Some of them, they are not even be able to work.
On the representation
on the representation we are inviting, we are saying, as we are saying, we want to be on the table as Linda Ugatuzi, for the obvious reason, because we have done a lot in regards of the same.
In that representation,
Number two,
there are two members from outside Parliament.
We also need other formidable, like civil society, like Kenya Human Rights Commission, if they may be allowed to be on the table, the better.
Yes.
We also need church leaders. We need everybody. Kenya is not about Ruto and Raila. When they are messing up the economy, all of us are being affected. So they cannot in any way say we are going to talk about IEBC, cost of living, minus some other people, civil society, who are championing for good governance and to reduce cost of living. And there's no way. The cost of living is directly proportional to the cost of production. So if William Ruto has increased the cost of production, there's no talk that will reduce the cost of living. one thing he need to do is to remove the 100% on fuel tax. He need to drop that taxation. He need to reduce the price of power, because power is manufactured in Kenya. We don't import power. Even if we import it, they are just on small. It is not. We rely locally for the power. Now we are telling him, if he want to help the country to move on, to drop the taxes on. He proposed the taxes 100% increment on fuel. And I want to give you an example. Russia is fighting against the West and the United States from Ukraine.
Yes.
They are spending a lot of money. They have not increased the cost of fuel to finance the war. Because if you increase the cost of fuel, you kill the economy. Once you kill the economy, it means you will not be able to sustain even the war. So if William Ruto wants to sustain economic growth and reward Kenyans, let him not increase taxes on fuel. Let him not slash people's salary in the name of building houses, because he's not even telling them where he's building those units for them.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Just once we come back, then I'll be giving Danton then the right of response. And this is what essentially Calista is saying, that particular negotiation committee that has now been formed as well, I think even the representation is not enough. Because if you indeed want to talk about the issues that majority of Kenyans are facing now, you do need more representation on the table. And they're saying, well, somebody is not being honest in terms of representing the issues that Kenyans are facing right now. To the point, is putting majority of the blame on the Kenya Kwanza government now in the way that the country looks, that if indeed you're fulfilling your promises, then we shouldn't be here today. Once we come back then, we give Danton the right of response. And also the bigger issue then is that are the issues that have been represented by both sides, the issues that Kenyans want to hear today? We'll be reading them point after point and then putting Danton and Calistas on the point then to explain if indeed that those are the issues that are bedeviling majority of Kenyans today. Good morning.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158 or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Did you know that 17 women die every day in Kenya during a childbirth? We lose about 39,000 newborns due to preventable conditions like malaria, neonatal sepsis, as well as diarrheal diseases. And guess what? These deaths of mothers and newborns, they are both preventable. RUTO Care Box is an organization that's extremely passionate about reducing maternal and newborn deaths using a simple box. A simple public health initiative that is a box and life-saving education.
Today we are at St. John's Hospital here in Githurai. We are here in conjunction with RUTO Care Box.
Mimi ya leo kwanza ni kushukuru RUTO Foundation wakiwa pamoja na RUTO Care kwa sababu ya kuangalia mama wetu.
I really feel very honored by RUTO because I never even thought anybody could think about us, you know, the way you have done. And thank you very much.
Lucy, we just want to tell you from RUTO that you're one of our first Shuja.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Michezo na wachezaji, matukio na matokeo uwanjani. Tumejifunga kibwebwe kukuletea mbwembwe. si mazungumzo ya kusisimua. Ndiyo maana safu ya spoti ipo hapa kwa ajili yako. ZFC! Nami hapa nahodha Robert Chacha, si suisui, na kuandalia kipindi bomba cha safu ya spoti kila siku ya Jumamosi kuanzia saa 7:30 ndani ya runinga nambari 1 ya michezo Lookuptv.
Let's come back then and talk about the issues that Kenyans want to hear right now. Danton, I'll put this question to you, also give you a right response to whatever Calista has spoken about this morning. Number one, if you look at the issues that have been raised by Kimani Ichung'wah, and I'll tell you what they were, all the way from creating the office of the opposition, embedment of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, then let's talk about the reconstitution of IEBC, the entrenchment of the CDF kitty. Top are those. And if you look at exactly what the Azimio coalition is also putting across the board, which side is presenting issues that Kenyans want to listen to today, Danton?
Let me go ahead and respond to my colleague.
Yes.
I want to say the opposition has created a crisis and wants to come ahead to solve a crisis, a non-existent crisis, by themselves. I asked you before, why do we need a mediator in Kenya, yet we don't have a crisis? We don't have war, we don't have a civil war. What are we mediating against? My colleague is saying we need third parties, we need CSOs, we need human rights, and etc., etc., etc. I concur with that approach.
Yes.
That if indeed the objectives of the opposition are outright, if indeed they are fair, if indeed they are being objective, then why not include everyone and sit down and talk? Why not include the CSOs? Why not include human rights and the courts and the media and the general public and everyone sit on the table? As much as I agree with that sentiment, the opposition will be the first ones to say no. This is an agreed talk. We ask the government to remove the talks from Parliament, because in submission, the first time the president said these talks are going to be parliamentary. It's just Parliament.
Yes.
But then the government has toned down and said, okay, look, we are going to have 2 more members from each side who are non-parliamentary, who are not lawmakers, okay? That according to the opposition, is enough inclusivity, because that's what they want. They want someone who is at the core of their interests. They want the former Vice President, Kalonzo Musyoka, to speak the mind of the opposition. Okay, they don't care about human rights to come and tell them about the rights of who. They don't care about that. They don't want CSOs to come and tell them, we are exploiting the trees, we are cutting down trees and logging, we don't want that. They don't care for that. All they care is, they are so desperate for the president to come and tell them, okay, what do you want? They are that desperate that regardless of whether there's inclusivity or not, so long as their interests are heard and the president has given them an ear, then that will be it. As my colleague has said, as much as I concur, I wanted to say, if William Ruto did what Uhuru Kenyatta did in 2018 and called the president in an exclusion and tell them, okay, look, my brother, what do you want? Raila Odinga will come out and forget about all these other issues. Raila Odinga will not talk about human rights or police brutality or the cost of living. He will not do that. And then I would also want to correct my colleague in terms of the president not thinking so much about production cost and what have you. Let's criticize the government constructively. Let's say this, but let's also look at what the government is doing to to help the economy stabilize. We are saying the government has raised the VAT on fuel by a whopping 100%, but we're also forgetting that recently the president brought in crude oil on credit. It has hardly been done in this country, getting fuel on credit, but he did that to cushion the shilling. If we had bought fuel in cash, the shilling will right now be at 150 or 150 something as we talk now. But we bought fuel on credit to cushion the shilling from falling, and we're not giving the president credit on that. That is I found that to be a very smart move. No, it would have been worse off if we bought fuel in cash. Okay, and then again, let's give credit to the government for the steps that it is taking. We are talking about one factor. In fact, right now, no one is talking about the housing fund or what have you. People have forgotten about that. People are just talking about fuel and unga and what have you. They have forgotten about these other issues because the opposition is not talking about them because it cared less in the first place. We have seen in the first time in so many years where now the devolution, Linda Ugatuzi is yet can bear witness. In fact, it's the first time since the Ugatuzi that we're having a government that has paid in full the county governments of their dues in the previous financial year. Yes. We are seeing a government that has paid in full CDF to the MPs since this constitution was enshrined. So let's give due where it is. Let's objectively subdue the government to accountability, but let us do so accountably.
Pretty much. Now, on the issues then, just before I cross over to Callistus, on the issues that have been raised by both sides, Danton, since we are saying that we need to be honestly approaching these conversations, that this issue should not be a Raila Amolo Odinga issue and President RUTO issue, that it should be an issue based on Kenyans' demands. Do you believe that either side is representing issues that are essentially close to the hearts of Kenyans?
I asked this.
Yes.
One of these two groups is fooling us. So we're asking ourselves, who is fooling who? Mm-hmm. Okay? Because the objectives that have been presented by either side are almost a coin against another. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I would like to agree with the fact that the opposition had been clear from the onset that this is what we want. Okay? The cost of living just came later on in the Mandamano, but their core was open the servers. Okay? Their core was, we want to reform the IEBC. Those were the two objectives that the Mandamano were for in the first place. In fact, even before Mandamano, it was IEBC reformations. Yes. It was, now they're adding to IEBC, they say they want us to create a new framework of conducting elections come 2027. And then, as I said before, they're capitalizing on the woes of the general public to forge ahead to get a bargain and have the public on their side, have the CSOs on their side, have these independent institutions, human rights, UNHCR, the Linda Gatuzi, to have them on their side, thinking that they care, but they don't. And we'll see it in fact, you'll see the president is advocating that let's have these talks publicly. And the opposition will come right and say, no, we have a mediator. The mediator will write a report and present to the public after the talks. That is what will happen. And I want to go on record saying this, that the opposition will not want these talks to be done in public. They'll want these talks to be done privately, and then the mediators team will write a report and publicize it, instead for going public and let the public know what we are talking about. So to answer the question strictly, I would say none of the side is telling us the truth as is.
Doesn't.
Okay. Both of them are trying to shed light on the issues that the public wants to hear, or to shed light on the issues that are easier for them to talk about,
yes,
and having less to give than to get.
Pretty much. Callistus, let me throw you into this conversation. And I want to read for you the issues that Kimani Ichung'wah listed just the other day. And this is what he said. Issues are reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, implementation of 2/3 gender rule, entrenchment of Constituency Development Fund, CDF, establishment and entrenchment of the office of the Leader of the Opposition, and embedment of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Let me start with the last one. Embedment of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Is that an issue the majority of Kenyans will sit back and say, yes, we want there to be an official office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary in the country?
That is not an issue. And also, to talk about having a position of opposition leader in parliament,
yes,
is also not an issue. Because our constitution did give ways in which political parties should operate. And the opposition already has money, which is guaranteed by the constitution, and is through the register of political parties, they are getting their share. So Raila Odinga can operate outside the parliament. He has the resources, he has the troops in parliament. The question of getting an opposition leader to parliament is not an issue. Also, those who drafted the 2010 constitution did not want cabinet secretary to sit in parliament.
Yes.
Because you cannot be working as a public servant, employed, you are being paid by taxpayers' money, but then you go to parliament to defend the mistake you are doing. So we wanted, for the purpose of transparent and the checks and balances, for cabinet secretary to operate outside parliament. Even RUTO proposing that he want cabinet secretary to sit in parliament. For us as Linda Okatus, we saw that as a malicious way of deceiving Kenyans.
Yes.
That he is doing something better than Uhuru Kenyatta.
What about the 2/3 gender?
Now,
yes,
I want to tell you, Kimani Ichung'wah is now emerging as a public nuisance because he has made several statements. He has insulted the former president, he has insulted everybody, and it seems William Ruto's regime is formed on basis of insult, because that is how they won election. They deceived Kenyans, telling them that they want to fix the mess that them themselves have contributed to. Because Kimani Ichung'wah, William Ruto, Kachakwa, all of them served President Uhuru Kenyatta to the end. And William Ruto was one person defending Uhuru Kenyatta. He defended all Uhuru Kenyatta's move until to like 1 year to election. Is when he turned back and started blaming the handshake. So he deceived to Kenyans. And this is the right time I want to tell Kenyans, is that next general election, this is the time you will vote using your brain, because it seems we were voting using handouts. This is the person who was busy in churches trying to deceive. Even church leaders have been deceiving to us. And we have reached a point whereby we want to ask religious leaders to stick on the issue of spreading the gospel and stop involving themselves in politics, because they are involving in politics to deceive their congregations. They deceived people about William Ruto. William Ruto said that he is the most there's a person who believes a godly fearing man. This is the person who have congratulated police to have killed demonstrators. He said that they did a very good job. Now, we are telling him that we have reached a point whereby we are discussing on how the country should move forward. And the issues opposition are raising, IEBC is an issue.
Yes.
The issue of election is an issue. We can't rule them out.
Yes.
The cost of living is the main issue. And the cost of living is not going to be handled when you are talking about adding another offices to the taxpayers. Taxpayers, Kenyans are overtaxed. And William Ruto promised that he's going to ease economic growth. He's going to help us achieve what the Uhuru's regime did not. But eventually, he is doing worse than Uhuru Kenyatta. And we can measure. You cannot tell me that you are trying to import fuel. That is even wrong. It is wrong for the head of state to participate in importation of fuel. Fuel, there is clear guidelines on how we are supposed to import fuel, on how we are supposed to import anything related to government. So William Ruto is doing things. Illegality is what defines William Ruto. They are running things with total disregard to the Constitution of Kenya, total disregard to the Kenyan law, all the parliamentary, those acts that the parliament has made. William Ruto doesn't seem to be focusing on how to enforce law and how to respect the Constitution and to respect the institution that we have put in place. So you cannot tell me that you are importing fuel. You import fuel, and yet the fuel in Kenya is more higher than fuel in Uganda. The price of fuel in petrol in Kenya is higher than the price of petrol in Uganda, and Uganda import fuel through Kenya. So the question we need to ask ourselves: what has William Ruto done to support his economic model, which we call bottom-up economic model? Because we are running away from this kind of argument, and we are allowing him to get away from the lies that he spread during campaign period about supporting the hustler nation. He's now punishing them because we do not need roads when the economy is not working. That is a point number one. We don't need more roads if we are not investing in production. And if we are killing production, then we don't need more roads equally. So I'm asking him that he focuses much on how to ease economic growth. And the best way to do that is to reduce on mega projects, because if you have got limited resources, you invest on things that let's say things that can caution the vulnerable community in the society. But he can't tell us that he wants to build more roads.
Yes.
You want to take money from us. Increasing tax is not the best way to increase government revenue, because it's not sustainable. By increasing the tax rate, you are killing economy. But let's take an example. If William Ruto could have reduced the price of petrol, what will happen is that most of people could be using cars. So the income on petrol will not go down because of. So those people advising William Ruto on economic model, the likes of David Ndii, the person that most Kenyans mistakenly respected him to be the child of economist. David Ndii has proven to us that he doesn't have basic knowledge about economy.
Yes.
And that's what is happening, because they are the people who are misadvising William Ruto. And on these talks, we want them to factor in. We want to discuss about the tax, the issue of taxation, the issue of duplication of roles.
Yes.
How can we manage public debt?
Yes.
How can we manage public wage bill? Because William Ruto seems to be making the government as a source of employment. Government is not a source of employment. Government should provide enabling environment for employment creations.
As
But if you make government as employment creation, you kill economy. Because now you take a lot of people in the system of government, you increase tax rate, you make business growth decline, then by doing so, you discourage investors, you kill production. So what is made in Kenya cannot be sold on international market. That is the truth of the matter.
Pretty much. Let me also extend this to you. We only have 6 minutes left, so we're just going to give you 2 minutes because I also want to pick the mind of Callistus on this particular issue here. Now, these are the issues that I keep on asking you, gentlemen, just to tell me whether indeed they're as close to Kenya's hearts as they can get. This is what the Azimio Coalition is saying, that the issues that there's in a rebuttal to that released by Kimani Ichung'wah, and well, the issues that we are going to talk about are the bipartisan reconstitution of IEBC, which seems to cut across both releases, inclusivity in the national affairs, and respect for political parties in line with the Constitution. I picked 2 issues that were not essentially represented by Kimani Ichung'wah in his release. Nanton, inclusivity in national affairs and respect for political parties in line with the Constitution. If we are saying that these are the issues that we're going to talk about in that 10-member committee, how close are these issues to the hearts of Kenyans?
I wouldn't say they touch the heart of Kenyans. Because the cries of the general public is one on taxation and 2 on the prices of basic commodities such as fuel and food.
Which they've gone to list as well.
Not basically, they have just come out as
the cost of living. Yeah, on top of what I've just read to you.
But I said before that the issues that were brought by the opposition were the core issues that started at the genesis of the Maandamano. Constitutional, the IEBC reformations and opening of the servers. All those issues that above other else, they don't care for such. And those are the issues that are turning on the Kenyans. But they don't care for those. If these talks are going to be private, then they would not talk about the cost of living. They would not talk about inclusivity. In fact, they would talk about inclusivity in terms of getting into government through the back door. Inclusivity in their own definition. And the former CS Munya was talking about inclusivity in the sense other people who are loyal to the government that are unqualified and being given positions and what have you, they want the government to consider the other side for positions. Inclusivity in the sense they want a handshake, they want to see mkate, they want to be in cabinet, they want, you see. So they care less about what issues are affecting, they care more about their own interests. And I would want to respond to my colleague about the president's economic calculations and what have you, did this and what. But I would like us to be more constructive and say the approach that the government has taken in this finance bill, it was one of the most progressive finance bills in the whole world. In Africa, it was very progressive in the sense we have to have at the back of our heads the debt that this government has incurred courtesy of the former regime that the opposition and the former President Raila Odinga took to steal from the public for their own benefit and not to progress. Okay, and very many bad decisions such as subsidies that lasted only 1 month to woo the public into believing that the government cared, but it didn't.
Pretty much. Here's the thing: we only have a minute, Callistus. I'm just gonna put it like this, and this is how the Azimio coalition, essentially ended that process. They said that we are keen on a time-bound program of talks that should take 1 month, beginning August 1st, today, 2023. But as we start today, the Kenya Kwanza side is yet to release the 3 that are left in that list, essentially saying, well, time is running, and the Azimio coalition then are feeling like this talk should have begun today, and they're not beginning today. In just 1 minute, is this again a show of unseriousness from the Kenya Kwanza side in terms of releasing the names of the committee members that are supposed to be on that 10-member committee?
And You have seen the kind of issues they are proposing.
Yes.
We can't discuss about issues which are outlined in the Constitution. What is written in the Constitution is irreducible. You can't, unless we change the Constitution for us to discuss. We can't discuss about the issue of inclusivity. It is well detailed in the Constitution of Kenya. And therefore, they are trying to buy time. Generally, the Kenya Kwanza regime is a dishonest regime we have ever had since independence. And for us, we are saying we are going to court. We are going to Linda Okatus is going to be enjoined to the case in the Supreme Court appeal for the Finance Act, which Omtata is filing. So we are going to make sure that we are pushed for that total overhaul of that finance bill, which is proposing retrogressive taxation. So we are just telling Kenyans that Kenya Kwanza is not honest to the country. This talk is not going to bear any fruits. And for us in the civil society, if we are not on that table, we are going to pursue legal means to put them on check.
Pretty much. Okay. Just want to take the gentleman back to the time that he joined us this morning at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. And for all of us who've been watching us online, we also take this opportunity to tell you thank you very much. Guess what? We take a tiny breather. Once we come back then, let's move away from all the politics of the political economy in the country and talk about personal economy. Where are you in terms of your personal relationships? I'll be telling you exactly what it is we're going to get into shortly. Good morning. You are a mother, you are a social media personality, you are a TV personality, you are a business person, you are a TV reality star. What best describes you, Lisa, today?
What I would like to be is an inspiration, especially to the young women today in Kenya who are growing up, who somehow are lost.
You go by the nickname Mama Chui.
Mama Chui. Hiyo ni kweli. I wore a lot of leopard print, and my fellow cast members started calling me really every day, Mama Chui, Mama Chui. So it became Mama Chui as my nickname, which I love.
Lisa Christopherson.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Every Sunday, saa 10. Jiunge na mimi ili nikufundishe mengi kuhusu ukulima wa nyanya, wa mboga, kuweka ng'ombe, kila kitu ambayo inahusikana na ukulima, ili ujifundishe mengi, uweze kujua ukulima pia ni mali. Kumbuka kipindi ni nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro, upate hela.
Praise the Lord and Bwana Yesu asifiwe sana. My name is Pastor Joseph. I'm from a ministry called Reconcilers World. God gives strength to the weary. I am, Jesus is speaking. He says, I am the door. Then he says, anyone who enters in through me will be saved. The Lord is my shepherd or shepherd. Then he says, I will always have everything I need. God desires to guide you. He's telling you that this day, don't just trust the Lord, but he's telling you, trust the Lord widely.
and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your number one show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Baruesa is along the Kerio Valley. Along the Kerio Valley, we are currently experiencing a drought. For the last 2 years, we have been having a dismal harvest. And a lot of foundation have seen it fit. This is the second time a lot of foundation is visiting this place within a year. So a lot of foundation has come here, is supporting several households with these gift hampers. We'll ensure that we have members of the public who are here, who will receive these gift hampers on behalf of Loto Foundation, and they'll take them to the house, and maybe it will assist in mitigating the drought effect that they're having around here.
Thank you for the food you brought us. It's that gift amp actually will assist our family to run for 2 days.
Leo lote imeingia hapa, tulikuwa nasikianga the barbar wapi, lakini leo iko Kabinyasi. Tumefurahi sana. Wamekuja na chakula ila hatujaona. Tumefurahi sana.
Nasikia ni mzuri sana. Okay. Tumbe mmesiba. Leo.
Asante sana, Mungu abariki nyinyi na kuongeza mingi.
Kongoi.
Salamu ya Mungu.
Asante mama.
Nasema asante sana Loto Foundation.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray.
It's time to restart, rescale, and talk about health matters.
If you get exposed to high fluoride between 0 to 12 years, your teeth will be permanently discolored.
Wake up, eat healthy, and keep fit. With the help of health experts, we will help you understand different health conditions and how to treat them.
Dental fluorosis is an irreversible condition that affects the outer layer of your tooth.
This is your health journal. My name is Wanjugu Washira.
Every Wednesday from 8:30 p.m.
Everything will be well discussed here on this platform.
Only on Lookuptv.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Every Sunday, saa 10. jiunge na mimi ili nikufundishe mengi kuhusu ukulima wa nyanya, wa mboga, kuweka ng'ombe, kila kitu ambayo inahusikana na ukulima, ili ujifundishe mengi, uweze kujua ukulima pia ni mali. Kumbuka kipindi ni nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na Manjoro, upate hela.
On Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am Simba Kiage. This is still the morning drift. Let's then continue talking about this particular conversation that we're getting into this morning. Now, but on the last part of our conversation this morning, I want us to talk about insecurities in relationships. It's a very important point because I want to give you some numbers here that are very, very important for you to know. Now, insecurities are the ones that lead to relationships, and you look at the economic breakups in relationships and marriages. And if you look at the economic report for Kenya 2022, they're saying that first-time marriages, 50% of them would end up in divorce, and second-time marriages, 65% of them would also essentially end up in divorce. Now, there's just a lot that you have to dig deep into that particular report for you to have to make sense of it, and that's why we are having this conversation this morning. And joining us this morning is Beatrice Moroguri, who's a counselor. Beatrice, good morning. How are you doing? Hopefully we shall be having Beatrice with us shortly. All right. Also in the studio we do have Vic Otieno, who's a counseling psychologist. Vic, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
All right, let's talk about it this morning then, as we wait for Beatrice then to join us this morning. Now, this is what they say, that 65% of second-time marriages would essentially end up in divorce. 50% of first-time marriages in the country would also end up in divorce as well.
Yeah.
And if you start to look at exactly what then leads to these numbers, it is insecurities in relationships at whatever stage that we're talking about them this morning. Let's begin like that. What is an insecurity, Vic? When we talk about an insecurity in a relationship?
Well, insecurity is when one of the partners is having feelings of insecurity.
Yeah.
And self-doubt on their image, on their abilities, on their worth. They are doubting, they are not sure.
The insecurity, on what level of insecurity are we talking about? We're talking about in the perspective of the other partner that you are within a relationship, or just you yourself?
It can come from either way.
Yeah.
It can come from either way. Only that it's it's easy to see in ladies than in men. Men would be defensive on the other side. Women, it will be hard to hide insecurity. Yes.
Pretty much. Let's then talk about, I don't know, Beatrice, whether you can get it this morning. Beatrice, good morning. Can you hear us? I want to introduce you to the conversation. All right. Thank you very much. Guys, can we make sure that we have audio in the studio? Thank you very much. All right, Beatrice, let me also ask you the same question that I've put to Vic this morning. What is an insecurity in a relationship?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. Insecurity in a relationship or any other engagement is total lack of confidence with the other partner that you are navigating this life with. So you don't trust them, you don't have any confidence with them.
That's it. Pretty much. I'll be coming on that. So now the definition is clear. Then let's then start looking at this particular subject. When you get into a relationship, Vic, today, and want to start dating, and you say that people should date for what purpose, is a thing that you should ask yourself that question first before you begin dating. And then, how do I date in reference to insecurities? Because you're saying that insecurity is what leads to a breakup. or a relationship not working, how do I start to address my insecurities when I get into a relationship?
Well, it's important to find out from where your insecurity is stemming from.
Yes.
Like I said, it is from inside. But then there's a difference between insecurity arising from what the other partner has done and then insecurity that is just within you. So someone is just insecure about who they are, but then someone can be insecure of their husband or their wife because of what they have done before.
Yeah.
Now, it's important to find out what is causing yours, where is yours coming from, you know. There's something that triggers that insecurity. And it is in addressing that you are able to deal with it.
So, two types of insecurities. Let's talk about the personal insecurities that are arising within yourself. What would normally cause somebody to have a personal insecurity, Vic?
Yes, this is possible from someone who suffered, you know, loss before, someone who was treated unfairly before, someone who didn't heal from a previous relationship, childhood issues, trauma, past traumas, you know.
Yes.
And also distorted self-image. You can be so discouraged, so judged harshly, you know, so much so that you start doubting yourself.
That's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I'll be coming back to you then on exactly how to start knowing that you have a personal insecurity. Beatrice, let me cross over to you. You see, Vic is saying, well, that when you're looking at these areas of insecurities, you've got to look at them from two perspectives. There's a personal insecurity that is arising from within you, and there are insecurities that are essentially out of what your partner has done or said in that regard. Do you agree that those are the types of insecurities that we have?
I totally agree. The personal insecurity, and he said that some of them they stem from our childhood.
Yes.
Allow me to revisit John Bowlby's attachment styles. When we are being, you know, at the establishment stage, when we are being taken care of by our caregivers as children, you realize that there's a form of attachment that is normally formed there. You are either securely attached or insecurely attached. If you are securely attached, in adulthood, you might not suffer from personal insecurities. But if you are insecurely attached, you realize that you are going to carry that insecurity into your relationship. And let's also try to expand this and just say that it's not just relationship between you and your partner, but even in interpersonal relationship, even in your place of work. All right?
Yes.
So personal relationship, they may stem from childhood, or they may also stem from something that you navigated in life and it was never resolved. Most people, when they are moving to another relationship, they do not sit down to do a post-mortem of what killed the past relationship. So what happens is that they carry the injuries of both the past relationship to the new one without, first of all, healing. Supposing my past partner or my ex-partner started cheating, and I was not able to process that properly, so in the event of life, I find myself in another relationship. So what I'll be doing what we call confirmation bias.
Yes.
I will start looking for the indicators that I saw my John doing when I started now noting that he's cheating. So I may end up spending more time in this relationship to confirm whether the same element that I saw in my previous partner are the ones that maybe could be in this relationship. However, we are not just talking about pathological insecurity. The other partner could give you all the reasons, the rights to doubt that person because of the way maybe they have changed their behavior. But before you may reach into a conclusion, first of all, understand what has prompted this change of behavior in your partner.
That's it. Pretty much. I'll be coming back to you on that because you guys now opening us into a deeper conversation. Vic, let's start with this particular conversation that Beatrice then has opened on personal insecurities.
Yeah.
Is it possible,
Yeah.
Vic,
Yeah.
that you as a human being,
Yeah.
you would essentially be without a personal insecurity? Like at one point, I can't stand here and tell you, Vic, I've got no personal insecurity. When does an insecurity become dangerous to a relationship?
Well, for some people, you know, self-confidence comes naturally, you know. She has explained very well, if you had good attachment with your caregiver, you know, you are more predisposed to having, to relating well with people.
That's it.
Yes, but you can work on yourself, you know. This kind of talks makes you maybe wake up to that fact that maybe I need to check these things. If I'm always behaving in this particular way, then maybe I might be having personal insecurity, and maybe it's something you need to deal with.
Yes.
Yes, so check yourself. You can work on yourself. Confidence come, you know, for like I said, to some people it comes naturally. Some people, they need to work on themselves.
That's it.
Yes.
But can somebody look at you, Vic, as an expert in this field and say, well, I've got no insecurity? Is it possible?
There are people with no insecurity.
What's that?
Yeah.
Vic, are you sure?
She has mentioned insecurity is wider, even in the workplace, even among siblings.
Yeah.
There are people who don't have issues with people. and one common way you will know people are insecure is jealousy. One common way, you know, people are jealous, and you have people who are not jealous. They don't care whether you are rising or not. They are confident in their own ability. You know,
In the respect for a relationship, case in point, Vic, I like using examples when I have these conversations.
Yeah.
When I look at a beautiful lady, okay, before I speak to this girl or before I approach her, what is the first question that I need to ask myself? Because then I need to look at myself and judge whether I've got the ability to actually go and talk to her. Is that me investigating my securities? Which why I asked you, is it possible for any other person to look at you today and say, well, I've got no insecurity?
It's possible.
Is it the level? Is it the level at which your insecurities are visible? Is that what we should be talking about?
We can agree or disagree on this, but I believe there are people who are secure enough.
Oh, there?
Yeah. And security, it manifests in confidence.
Oh,
we know we have confident people. We know we have confident people. And someone who is safe enough in themselves, they want to approach a girl, they will approach the girl. They know the answers are only two, yes and no. So they will not stop, you know. And then there's people who, because of fearing to get the answer no, they will never approach anyone.
Now that's the insecurity now that we're talking about.
Someone
right
not so sure about his self-worth, you know. He's not sure, you know, he's so worried about what the other person will think, how the other person will see them. There are people who don't care.
Pretty much. Good. Beatrice, okay, maybe I'm getting taught this morning by experts, and that's why I love this kind of conversations. Is it possible, let me just even walk to you, by the way, is it possible for somebody to look at you and say, I've got no insecurity, I'm complete, I don't doubt myself, I'm 100%. The same question that I asked Vic, should we be talking about the visibility of these insecurities as opposed to somebody without insecurity?
Thank you. It's also good to note that we cannot navigate this life without having insecurities here and there. I would like to echo what you said, that you may have that insecurity, but if you have the package to deal with it, the confidence, you'll be able to handle it. So we cannot say that a person can be 100%. Never. A person can never be 100%. But how you address an insecurity that comes up is what keeps you going. Allow me to take you back to the question that you asked, if you don't mind. About when you see a beautiful girl and you feel like approaching her, what goes to your mind? The confidence level that you exude at that point, my friend. I will ask you one question, but don't answer. I'm asking this on behalf of the audience. What kind of parenting style did you get? Because the way you are brought up will determine whether you'll be able to, give yourself that, they call it in the street knowledge, street language, they call it, they give it, you get the psych, the torture to go and approach that girl. If you are brought up in a parenting style whereby you are always made to feel that you have to consort, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't. So you end up growing up with very low self-confidence, and you feel like you need to consult all the time. So when you come across this girl, you feel like, maybe she's going to be shut me down with the Down syndrome that I grew up with. Or should I consult my friend to know whether I should approach this girl? But if you are brought up in a warm environment, whereby you were told that, yes, you have made a mistake, you can try again, there's an opportunity to get in life and miss in life, my friend, you go ahead with two options. I may get her, or I may be rejected. When she rejects you, you will not pick the axe, you will not commit suicide, you will start walking again and approach the next one based on your checklist. Thank you.
Yes, Beatrice, just before I go back to Vic, it looks like you guys are saying that there is a way in which we can interrogate your personal insecurities, then solve them, and then continue with life normally without your insecurities being visible. What is this first question that I need to ask myself when I'm interrogating my personal insecurities? It's very, very possible that I might be having personal insecurities that I've got no idea that I have.
Thank you. Number one, you can never eliminate a problem that you are not aware of. So the most important thing, first of all, is to identify what is the source of your insecurity. If you don't know that you have an insecurity, who do you hang around with? Are they able to let you know that you have insecurities? Sometimes your friends are not confident enough to let you know of your insecurities, but they can make statements, a few statements here and there, that when you sit down, you'll be able to know, what did my friend mean? What did my boss mean? For example, statements like, Jane, why do you always make sure that before you talk, you take too long? Why do you panic even when somebody says hi to you? When do you panic when somebody calls you my dear in a very, innocent setup? Why do you become very emotional when somebody asks you, why were you late today? Why do you become, very emotional when somebody asks you, are you dating? So the way you react to issues may project a lot of insecurity, but the people around you may not be able to identify and tell them outright to you. They may make statements, or worse still, some of them may even end up avoiding you. So identify your source of insecurity and move to the next level. Yes, I have known that my insecurity is stemming from, I am working with people who have master's degrees, and I feel that I have this certificate. Yes, I am doing my work. My boss is not even complaining. I am even performing well. So I should not just, everything that I'm doing, I should not just look at the papers. I should look at my output. Is my boss happy with my output? Is my output every time, whether good or bad, related to, the certificate level that I reached? So if you are able to identify what is causing you, this insecurity, you'll be able to handle it. Then, if you cannot handle it on your own, that is why we keep on saying, go out there and seek therapy. When you go to therapists, they will be able to tell you, to navigate with you and take a journey back into childhood, so that they can work with you to identify at what level did you get this insecurity, what caused it, and what are the right interventions.
That's I like that one. Vic, so back to you this morning.
Yeah.
So, see what she's saying, is it? Well, you can't walk around saying that I'm quite perfect, that I can't have an insecurity, but you should be able to have the skill
to deal with it.
once an insecurity comes up, I'm able to identify it and deal with it. Okay, let's talk about that. I'm going to be very sincere. In relationships, this is exactly what happens over time. The majority of people have either been cheated on severally, broken up with severally, or things are not just working in their way. You know, it's a story of the day. You know, modern day relationships. So majority of people would approach relationships with caution. You know, fear. You're so steadfast. You know, you want to stick. You're looking to identify where it goes wrong. And in majority of the scenarios, it goes buff.
Yeah, she explained it very well. Something called confirmation bias. And that is why the statistics you gave, you say second marriages will likely fail. You know, this person is coming with baggage from the past. Let's say the person was called John. John used to walk out whenever he was receiving his calls, okay? And he ended up cheating on me. So you are now dating Peter. And maybe Peter is working with a company that doesn't allow him to share secrets. So he would like to take private calls.
As if Peter also works out?
He said, aha.
Inaendanga hivi, eh?
Inakuanga hivi. So what you need to do before going to the next relationship, please heal from the first relationship.
That particular process, you know, I like when you guys, when you therapists say, well, and counselors say, we need to heal from the other process. But it's what they say, Vic, that you can't be in a relationship that either doesn't change you, teach you, or you're essentially just being impacted upon. That you can't just go into a relationship, whether it's just a short one or a long-term one, where you essentially do not learn or pick the attributes of that relationship so they become you. How do you drop that and become a new person in the next one? What they say, dropping baggage. It's very hard.
Is deal with it. Deal with it. I've seen many people in therapy. Someone moves almost immediately, you know, because you are hurt. You want to prove a point that the problem was not you by getting another person. And as long as you don't deal with whatever caused the other relationship to fail, you are going to transfer it to the next person.
Let me ask you a question that they're gonna be asked a lot. How do you deal with the heartbreak of being broken up with? When you were essentially the one who was the right-minded, the right intention partner in that relationship, but ukaachwa.
Assess it, okay? Number one, you need to accept. We need to accept. It has happened. Whether we like it or not, it has happened. Nimeachwa, okay, ama nimeacha.
So,
accept. And accepting, even the person who left, you know, you may not like the person, but there was the idea of the relationship. There could have been the idea of the marriage. You might not like the person you're married to because of the things they did. So that is why you need to process it, okay? This is over, okay? And then through therapy, and you can be able to really find the part you played, the part the other person played, you know, and then you heal. And then after healing, that is the only time now you are able to approach the new person as an individual. Otherwise you will go to a relationship with, all women are the same, all men are the same. But
that's something that ladies say, by the way. But I don't know why ladies keep on saying all men are the same. I hate that particular phrase because when I look at my friends, I'm not the same as my friends. Anyway, we'll be talking about that. Let me cross over to Beatrice because there's something that you've said, healing there. Healing is essentially, I don't know how to define it. I'll be coming back to you to look for the perfect definition of healing in the aspects of therapy and from a counseling perspective. Vic, I'll be coming back to you on that. Beatrice, here's the question. Just like Vic is really trying to decipher it correctly this morning. See, the thing is that you can't be in a relationship. It will be a complete lie to be in a relationship and then you say, wow, I got nothing out of that relationship. So I'm going to forget those people and I'm going to move on as a new person into the next relationship. Whether we like it or not, we pick lessons, we pick patterns from the partners that we pick over time. So in another way, they become us, we become them in some way. So how do you guys, and by the time guys I'm asking you counselors in the building today, expect me to see another girl just like a completely different girl? And how do you expect that girl who's not seen me for the very first time or had like 3 or 4 boyfriends see me as a completely new person? It is close to impossible. That's what I want to get.
Good. Success or failure of any relationship, every party has a contribution. It is the percentage that varies.
That's it.
What do I mean? If the relationship worked, there is one party that had the larger percentage of the input than the other, and vice versa is true. So if, okay, when they come to us, this is what we ask them. Do you feel that you have a contribution to where this state of affairs has found you? And if so, what do you think is your contribution? We also ask them, how did you find yourself here? You can only be able to move on if you're able to, first of all, process. This is a loss. I agree with Mr. Ochieno that this is a loss. And the way we deal with the loss and grief when we have lost our loved one is the same stage that the same stages that you can use to heal and move on, which sometimes may not be easy because every person is unique. Number one, you must start by denying. Mimi siwezi achika. I'm not to be left. I felt that I knew I was the package for the guy. I was the package for that lady. You know, you start denying. You need to move from that step of denial to the second one now. You know, the second one now, reality sets in and you start becoming very angry. After all I've done for this girl, after I have even taken her to school, this guy, I'm the one who has been paying the house rent. This guy, you know, I have even paid a trip to Dubai.
Yeah.
How can he do this to me? You become so angry with yourself, so angry with your partner, and so angry with any other factor that made the two of you unite. Or even with the place where you met, even if it was a wedding or in a club. You get? So you start getting angry. Then you move to the next stage, whereby it's bargaining. And this at this point, it's the same kind of bargaining that you do out there in the in the market. If I would get this guy back, if I would get this girl back, I now know my mistake. I will be the best partner ever. I'll be remembering those bad days because that has been the issue. I'll be posting her because that has been the complaint. Posting, quote unquote. So you start bargaining that if given an opportunity, you'll be able to do what? To be a better partner. Then you move to the next stage, and allow me to say that these stages, they don't follow step by step. You may move from denial to bargaining or to the last one.
Yes.
So it depends. It depends with individuals.
Yes.
So you move to the next one now.
Beatrice, just hold on just a tiny bit. I want to come back to you. We're just going to take a tiny breather. We've already seen those stages. I'm actually learning. I want to come back to you so that now we go back to Vic and then just rubber stamp that particular healing process and then say, well, the insecurities are going to be known today. Just hold on back. We come back with you as we continue then to go back on this particular conversation of addressing the insecurities in your relationship. We do have Vic and Beatrice in the house. It's a learning session. I hope your pens and papers are out because it is August 1st. Wenye mlisema mtaoa is 3 months. Wenye mlisema mtaolewa is 3 months. So mko wapi? All right, once we come back, let's talk about that healing process then. You are a mother, you are a social media personality, you are a TV personality, you are a business person, you are a TV reality star. What best describes you, Lisa, today?
What I would like to be is an inspiration especially to the young women today in Kenya who are growing up, who somehow are lost.
You go by the nickname Mama Chui.
Mama Chui. Hiyo ni kweli. I wore a lot of leopard print, and my fellow cast members started calling me really every day, Mama Chui, Mama Chui. So it became Mama Chui as my nickname, which I love.
Lisa Christopherson.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university, and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158, or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Well, on Lookuptv across all the social media platforms, we are into the last part of our conversation this morning. Let's talk about those insecurities in relationships. Just people won't break. Beatrice was essentially going about this process that you have to go through then just to sort of be a new person in the next one. Beatrice, you're just clear on that particular point, bargaining, and then you say they don't have to be in that order. They could start from nowhere as long as you get done with all those processes. What is the next process in that order?
It's known as depression stage. This is whereby now if you are not given proper social support by your peers or the young people, they call it bogiako.
Yeah.
If they are not nowhere to be found to support you. You must use this language because we are addressing a wide range of viewers.
That's
so
it.
The young people, they call it bogi yangu. So if the bogi is not there or they are not supporting you, you feel that I'm alone in this journey of grief. I am alone, and I feel that the promises that we made, they were not honored. And especially those people who had actually, they had even done the tattoos, they had done a lot of covenanting and all that. I can never live without you. You are my abuju buju. All those, now those promises, they come back hitting you hard at this point. And that's why sometimes, with no proper social support, you may sink into depression. And for those of them who are actually so much predisposed to depression, they may even end up committing suicide.
Yeah. Pretty much. Good. Now, I'll be coming back to you. Let me go back to Vic. Vic, the healing process is right there. I mean, she's essentially gone through those steps, and she said that you have to go through all that then. If you're essentially going to be saying, well, I've addressed my insecurities in my former relationship before then approaching the next one.
Yeah.
So, somebody has gone through this process of healing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that Beatrice is essentially just defined it completely.
Yeah.
Now you're in the next relationship.
Yeah.
But then, Vic, here's the thing. Me saying that I'm essentially done with that relationship and I'm new in this one, it makes me more, I would say, more alert. Isn't it? Is that not what it becomes? Because if you have essentially got done with this relationship, it means now we're moving into the next part of insecurity, which is essentially what your partner does, how your partner looks, how your partner acts around you.
Yeah.
If you're going through that process of healing, how do I view this next relationship, knowing very well that I'm now smarter, I'm now brighter, I'm now sharper, and I'm ready for the next one? Does it make it harder for me not to tap in to those signs?
Well, anyway, we are supposed to be smarter all the times, even in the first marriage.
Yeah.
Last time I was here, we briefly talked about premarital counseling, preparing for the marriage. We are supposed to be smarter, okay? Now, if you have gone through all the stages of grief, as Beatrice has explained, you end up healing, you are healed. So you are starting a new relationship with a new person. It is only fair that you treat them as a new person, you know. You also expect them to treat you as a person, you know. So then, if insecurity will be triggered in you now and you want to navigate it so that your relationship succeeds, then you need now to identify those things that trigger your insecurity. Now, because we want this relationship to work, it is good to honestly speak to your partner that maybe you behaving this particular way, you know, causes me to have insecurity.
Conversation.
Yes, converse openly about it so that they know. You are also, because now you are working on yourself, you know, you want to identify what is it that will trigger me? What is it that will trigger my insecurity? Okay, you have known it. You journal it. You can journal the frequencies, you know, okay? It happened that day because of this, because of this. So you are able to speak to your partner, and because you want your relationship to work, if your partner is also willing to make the relationship work, they will be able to, you know, help you address that. I've just given one way.
That's one way, isn't it?
Yeah.
So make it clear.
Yes.
So because you've identified the insecurities that will make you feel some type of way, and you're aware of them, tell your partner that this, when you do like this, it makes me feel like this.
Yes.
Without essentially referring to the relationship that you're done with.
No.
Just them.
And not accusing them, okay? Not accusing them. Let them know that this kind of, when you talk to me like this, it makes me feel this way.
Okay.
So in a good environment where you are finding out solutions, you are not accusing. Because by the way, you can have a good idea, but the way you say it, someone becomes defensive immediately. Okay, so when you are working on solutions, say, hey, I get this kind of feelings when you do this.
Do like this.
Yeah, so they will help you, you know. If they are willing to make it work with you,
yes,
they will help you. If it is something they can change, they can change.
That's it.
Okay, and then also we need to, we are dealing with a healed person now, so you are not carrying baggage, okay? So you are not going to be trying to confirm something. You are not going to be overly seeking for approval, you know. You're not going to be so much, because those are the signs of insecurity. You want approval all the time. Why are you not telling me I'm smart? Why are you not telling me I'm beautiful? You're always checking your weight, you know. You are overdoing things. You want to please everyone, you know. So you are not going to be doing that because you are healed. You are in a place where you are supposed to be, you know.
Pretty much. By the way, there's another part to that. I'll be coming back to you on that. Beatrice, it's getting interesting about that particular question right there. That you're now into a new relationship, and I told you the same thing that I told Vic, you're smarter, you're sharper, you know your insecurities, and you know exactly what triggers you or doesn't. How do you stop yourself from checking? Because if I'm a good driver, I will be checking whether my car is all right all the time. I gotta check the oil every morning I wake up. Gotta check whether the tires got proper pressure. Gotta check whether I've got any light. Oh, no, any warning light on my dashboard. Is that not the way that people are smarter and aware are supposed to carry on in a relationship?
Good question. The worst thing you can do in this life is failure to take lessons. In every activity, in every situation in life that you find yourself.
Yes.
And when you take lessons, you become a better candidate for the next event in life. And now the event we're talking about here is the new relationship. You are fearing that you might carry the, we have already healed. But you see, we are human beings. We may be triggered by some things that yet we are saying that we have healed. I may give an example. Supposing I was dating Mr. Otieno, and Mr. Otieno used to call me Jabel. In that process of being called Jabel, Mr. Otieno cheats, and then we break up. I now join in a new relationship after healing, but I still feel that the new partner is not now calling me Jabel, but like listening to that song. You get? So it can trigger me if I have not, just like in drug abuse, my friend.
Yeah.
We have relapse. You
Yeah.
can have a relapse. You can go back to the insecurity situation. So probably he may not call you Jabel, but he may be playing, that could be his favorite music.
Yeah.
The best thing to do at this point, because what we normally do in this relationship, we assume that that other partner knows how I'm feeling. And that
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158 or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Are you ready to experience a spiritual awakening like never before? Join us for the 19th International Burning Fire Conference 2023 at the Revival Sanctuary of Glory from the 6th to the 13th of August. Open your heart and soul to an extraordinary journey of faith and renewal. Experience the anointing of God through Bishop Dr. Ken and other ministers as they impart blessings and healing to those in need.
You know, during the time of the resurrection is a time to experience the miracles of God.
Bishop Dr. Ken and Mercy Ken and all the invited speakers will lead you to connect with God on a deeper level. Don't miss this life-changing event from the 6th to the 13th of August. See you there as we seek God's presence and power together. The 19th International Burning Fire Conference 2023. Ignite your faith. Transform your life.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Every Sunday saa 10. Jiunge na mimi ili nikufundishe mengi kuhusu ukulima wa nyanya, wa mboga, kuweka ng'ombe, kila kitu ambayo inahusikana na ukulima, ili ujifundishe mengi uweze kujua ukulima pia ni mali. Kumbuka kipindi ni nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro, upate hela.
Well, we do apologize for that short technical hitch. We do have Beatrice still with us and Vic with us as well. So Beatrice, let's conclude it. You're talking about you can relapse. All right, in that perspective. So could we summarize that, Beatrice?
Good. you can have a relapse and find that the things that were triggering you before are still affecting you in the next relationship.
Yeah.
The best thing is to communicate. You had to communicate to your partner that, when you do this, is it okay if you do this, if you do A instead of B, if A is affecting you? Then number 2, you did ask whether is it checking, now that you are wiser, you are able to take lessons from previous relationship. Now that you are wiser, are you supposed to be checking? Okay, checking is not a problem, but there is pathological checking.
Yeah.
Checking that is abnormal, which is going to suffocate the next relationship. The next partner will be suffocated by you checking. You are posting her, you are checking what they are posting on social media. You are you are even attacking the people who are, commenting on what he or she posted on social media. So that makes you now set yourself up for another failure of the second or even third relationship. I think the best thing to do here is, if you have been able to have like 3 or 4 relationship breakups, sit down and try to establish a pattern that it is repeating itself. In the first relationship, this is what happened. The second relationship, this happened. Try to see what is repeating, the pattern that is repeating itself, so that you can, come up with interventions of breaking that pattern.
That's it. Pretty much. I'll be coming back to Beatrice. Vic, then it gets like this, that you can be healed, fine.
Yeah.
You've essentially done the entire process that Beatrice is talking about. So in just 2 minutes, what is this question that you should be asking your next partner in this respect, for knowing that you're dealing with a person with insecurities or without insecurity? Because once you get in, then you're going to be part of their story, or they're going to become part of your story as well.
If you're entering a relationship with someone who is coming from one, the way they speak about it is a pointer to what it was, the way they react to it. They will tell you, it will tell you whether they have healed or not. The other person could have been wrong, could have been the bad one, okay? But there is a part all of us played. At least you chose the person. At the very least, you chose them.
Yeah, when do you listen money?
Yes. So the way they are reacting about that relationship, some don't even want to talk about it at all.
Okay.
Then they are not healed. Definitely they have not healed.
Then you walk out. Save yourself time, isn't it? Is that it?
Depends. You can maybe help them to work through it. Go to help. Be patient as they do therapy, as they are healing.
Is it true that you can help? Is it true that most of the time when you help a girl,
we value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our program